Angry shouts like these could be heard coming from the usually peaceful and quiet village of Konoha. Why these shouts could be heard is because tonight is October 10th and 4th anniversary of the night that the legendary nine-tailed demon fox Kyubi attacked the village. The Kyubi had killing hundreds of shinobi and villagers, including the fourth Hokage, who had managed to defeat the demon by sealing it in a baby boy just an hour old, but died as a result of performing such a task. Everyone old enough to understand what happened know that, but most were so full grief that they believed that the poor boy was the demon itself. When the reinstated third Hokage saw this, he passed a law stating that anyone whom spoke of the demon would be instantly put to death, in hope that the boy would live a peaceful life and be able to make friends his age. He even wrote that the beast had been killed by the fourth in the official report, but his actions were not enough to stop the hatred against the boy for what he had inside him. The villagers told their children to avoid contact with him. They encouraged them to pick on him, and the adults did the same. People had even stopped adopting orphans from the orphanage he stayed at until the owners quite forcefully kicked him out at age 3. When the third heard this, he gave the boy an apartment and a monthly allowance so the boy could buy the necessities like food and water, but for the villagers this provided another way to show their hatred to the boy. The shopkeepers only sold the boy expired food at 3 times the normal price. The teacher either taught him wrong or not at all. The clothing stores refused him, and the one that let him in only sold him a bright orange Kill Me jumpsuit. And all the restaurants refused to give him anything, even the scraps. The only restaurant that let the boy eat is a little ramen stand called Ichiraku, owned by a man named Tucci and his daughter Ayam. Both liked the boy and would adopt him, but the council would not allow it. So they are as nice and friendly to the boy as they can. But all that neglect and abuse is not enough to vent off the villagers' angers of the demon. That vent is provided on the same day as the monster's attack. On the 10th of October, the entire village would celebrate the defeat of the Kyubi. But when night came around and the people left the bars in various states of drunkenness, the civilians and even some shinobi would form mobs and go demon hunting, which consist of finding, chasing, and beating the boy within an inch of his life. The third would be too busy with all the paperwork the festival caused that by the time he realizes what was happening, it would be too late. The planned mob started last year, started again a year later, and is planned to continue for years to come. The third gave a sigh. He had grown attached to the boy, even thinking him to be his grandson. "I'm sorry, Minato," grieved the third, looking up from his paperwork to stare at a picture of his predecessor. "I failed to achieve your last wish. The villagers' hatred for the beast that the boy protects us from every day is directed at said boy, and they do not see him as the hero as you had wanted," said the third, adding this fact to his ever-growing list of failures, oblivious that the boy is now running for his life again. He looked at a smaller picture on his desk that had a picture of the boy smiling, which put a smile on the old man's face. No matter what happened to the boy, he always had a smile on his face. What the Hokage didn't know was that the smile was just a defensive mask to hide the pain he felt. The pain of not having parents who loved him, or even knowing who they were, was bad. The pain of having everyone he meets avoid or mistreat him was bad. The pain of all the glares of pure hatred and harsh whispers people say when they think he can't hear them, like, "There goes that monster. We should have killed it long before now. You see that thing, don't go near it. It is dangerous. And why did the Hokage let that thing live? Does he not care about our safety?" was bad. But the pain of being alone hurt him the most. To the boy, the physical beating were nothing compared to being alone. But they still hurt like hell. This boy's name is Naruto Uzumaki. Location: somewhere in Konoha. Naruto Uzumaki was running for his life from a mob for reasons he did not know. "Why do they all hate me so much?" is what Naruto thought as he turned right on a T street, but quickly went the other way when he saw a group of people, smaller than the one already chasing him, with weapons from beer bottles to a rusted katana. Naruto thought back to earlier that day. Flashback. Naruto was on his way to the Hokage's office to celebrate his birthday with his surrogate grandfather. "I wonder what Gigi got me this year. Whatever it is, I don't think it would be better than the apartment I got last year," he thought. /n. He is a 4-year-old boy, where before he was abused and had to share everything he got, getting the smaller to non-existing piece of it at the orphanage. So getting an apartment that was only his was gold. "Maybe he will even tell me who my parents are." Every time he asked the Hokage about his parents, he said that he didn't know them, but they had died from their injuries after the fourth killed the Kyuubi. But something about the way he says it makes Naruto think that he is lying. He hoped that if he was lying, it was about not knowing them and not about them dying. If they hadn't died, then maybe they never showed themselves because they didn't dash. And oh, he practically yelled in his head, waking up a certain someone, I will not think like. This is my birthday, and I will not let bad thoughts and ruin my good day. He thought, turning into restaurant-filled street. His entire day had been one big festival. There were all different types of booths selling food and sweets, anti-Kyuubi stuff, or things to honor those who had died. Not that Naruto was allowed near any of these, but he did take some food from some stands when the owners weren't looking. He left correct change. Naruto had enjoyed the day very much. Everywhere he looked, he saw people with smiles on their faces. The people who could only scowl were happy. The entire crowd, no, the entire village was happy. Hell, even the air seemed happy. Naruto had gone home when the festival ended with a smile on his face, a true smile. What Naruto didn't know was that the people of Konoha went to the bars for 3 to 5 hours after the festival to drink their sorrows away, and that the street that he turned on was the one with the most popular bars, and it was closing time. Maybe me and Gigi will go to Ichiraku's and eat some ramen, thought Naruto. AOL. Ramen. Naruto started to drool at the thought of what he considers the food of Kami, and did not pay attention to where he was going and bumped into a man. Hey, watch it, the man slurred out. Sorry, I didn't see you. Naruto apologized as the man turned around. Hey, I know why you. You're that D-damn Kyuubi brat who killed my son, the man said as his anger started to build. Wah, was all Naruto could say. Why does this old drunk think I killed his son? I don't even know him. Wait, did he just call me the Kyuubi? Was going through his mind. And now you want to finish me off? Do ya? Well, think again. The man then walked into one of the bars and yelled, Hey everybody, that damn demon just attacked me in the street. I will not have the monster that killed my son and attack me go unpunished. Who's with me? Man, that guy was drunker than I thought. First he thinks I'm a demon that died 12 years ago. Then he thinks I killed his son. Now he's trying to get other people to hurt me. I know most people don't like me. Why, he did not know. But this guy is nuts, Naruto muttered as he turned to find the Hokage tower, but stopped when he heard. I'm in. That demon killed my wife, he heard someone shout. That monster killed my best friend and crippled my daughter, he heard another yell. My baby still is afraid to sleep because of what it did that night, he heard a woman. I say we finish what the Yondaime started and kill the Kyuubi. Who's with me? Naruto heard a collective why as more and more people started crowding the streets. Naruto was getting worried as they get closer, yell how he damaged this and killed that. Why are they saying I did such bad thing? I didn't do all those things, did I? This many people couldn't be wrong, could they? Naruto felt a sharp pain in his cheek as a kunai blurred past. A/N. Think of what Anko did. Hey, look at that. The beast can bleed, shouted a guy in a Chunin vest. If that monster can bleed, then it can be killed, yelled a civilian in his mid-30s. A/N. Got that from a movie, forgot which. Now Naruto was really scared. He started to back away as the mob grew. The mob itself was like a pot of boiling water. Every time someone said, we should kill it now, we must avenge the ones that thing murdered, etc., it was just more water and heat being added to the pot, until finally, let's kill him. For the Yondaime, some person in the back shouted. For the Yondaime, the mob yelled in one voice and charged. The pot boiled over. In flashback, when the chase started, Naruto's goal to get to the Hokage tower had all but tripled, but it ended when a smaller mob cut him off. Now lost and hunted in his own city, all Naruto could do was run. Naruto looked behind him to see that he had lost the mob, for now. He took this time to rest, and looked at himself in a building window with a diamond on it. To put it simple, he looked terrible. His jumpsuit had so many tears in it that it looked like it went through a shredder. He had many cuts, bruises, and swells all over his body. He'd been running for so long that his hair was no longer in the usual spikes, but clung to his head and tinted red with his blood. Cough, cough, spoiler, cough, cough. And there was a large bump on his forehead. Naruto had gotten caught by the mob 4 times. But they didn't catch him. No, he was faster than the average Chunin. Naruto had turned the corner and ran into one of the mob patrols. After the mob had him restrained, they proceeded to beat him. The only reason he escaped was because 1 to 4 ninjas showed up and the villagers quickly abandoned him, allowing Naruto to make his getaway, only to have the ninja join the mob, starting the chase over again. This has happened 3 of the 4 times. The 4th time he got caught, the mob had started to beat him with everything but the kitchen sink. Oh wait, the villager that lived in the house they were in front of threw that very thing out of the 3rd-story window, screeching about how the demon woke her up from her nap, missing Naruto by a mere 2 inches, providing a good distraction because the mob started to yell at the woman for almost killing them, then for letting the demon get away. He looked up at the sky. It was a cloudless night. All the stars were in the sky as well as the moon. It was a truly beautiful, peaceful, and perfect night, besides the fact that he might die tonight. Most of the village called for his death. There were mob patrols looking, and different part of the were on fire. Yup, aside from that, perfect. Naruto anger and confusion rose and started to shift his feet hard in the dirt road, trying to quietly vent his anger. Why me? What had I ever done to all those people? What could I have done to them? I'm only 4. His thoughts started to take a turn. But those people, they all said I was the QB. There has to be at least 1,000 of them, and they all believe it. Could that many people be wrong? He looked in the window for any fox-like features about him. The first things he noticed were his whisker marks. Well, my birthmarks sort of look like whiskers, but that has nothing to do with the fox, does it? Nah. Naruto grinned at the thought, but disappeared when he remembered I am what said once. Flashback. You know, Naruto, I've never seen anyone eat more than 1 bowl of ramen at your age, said Tsuchi as Naruto worked on his knife. But old man, your ramen is Kami's food, so I have to eat as much as I can before he takes it back, said Naruto as he finished his bowl, leaned back in his seat, patted his bulging stomach, and sighed with a huge grin on his face. This commit caused Tsuchi to start laughing a madman. This was the scene that I am in on. Hi Naruto-kun, just finished lunch I see, she said with a giggle at Naruto's content look. She was amazed with how much ramen he could eat. Turning to her father, son, if you keep that up, then I will be forced to call the shinobi to take you to a mental home. Her arms across her chest. I am Nei-chan, said Naruto as he got out of his seat to hug the one he considered a sister. It's good to see you too, Naruto-kun, she said, pushing out of the hug and ruffling his hair. Tsuchi gave her a 2-week vacation. Hey Naruto-kun. What, Nei-chan? Did anyone ever tell you that you have the grin of an intelligent fox? I am asked. Naruto didn't answer. He just gave his Nei-chan one of his rare true smiles at being compared to something intelligent. Through their conversation, Tsuchi was still laughing. When he settled down, he ended up paying for Naruto's meal for getting him in his good mood and a good laugh, but quickly told him that it was not going to be an every-time thing. Naruto pouted for a little before leaving the duo, promising to be back soon. In flashback. Maybe it was a coincidence that she said fox, he thought. Maybe I'll ask the Hokage about this if I survive. Oh no, the Hokage. What if he thinks I'm the QB? What if he gets mad if he thinks I'm trying to trick? What if? Naruto gulps. What if he is sent to Ibiki? He didn't know him, but he had heard that if you do something really bad, you go to him. No, if I was the QB, then the Hokage would have done something by now. Now that he was somewhat rested, he decided that it was way past time to leave the open street. As he was turning to leave, a glint from the spot he had been standing caught his eye. Where his feet had rubbed against the ground, a red thing was now. As he bent down to pick it up, a kunai flew where his head had just been breaking the window. Damn it, stupid demon, just stay still, yelled a genin in his 20s. Naruto, once he got his bearing together, picked up the red thing and ran. The yells of the genin had alerted many of the patrol mobs to what had just happened, and they started closing in on Naruto's position. Naruto could hear the mobs getting closer to him. His body had not fully recovered from the last couple of hours, and was losing energy fast. Someone please help me. Naruto's thoughts begged as he closed his eyes to send his thoughts to Kami. His body started to slow down, and the mob started to caught up to the fastest 4-year-old they know of. Oomph! Came the voices of 2 children. Naruto, not looking where he was going, ran into someone again. Naruto looked up at the person he ran into, hoping that it was not another mobster. Sitting in front of him was a girl around his age with dark blue hair and strange white eyes that had a hint of lavender. She was pretty and for some reason somewhat familiar, and for a second he thought Cammy had answered him and sent him an angle. That second ended when he saw the fear clearly visible on her face. I guess I don't look too great. I wonder why, Naruto thought with crud sarcasm. I think the demon is up ahead, came a voice in the closing distance, waking Naruto from his stupor. Panicking, he frantically looked for some place to hide because his body was too exhausted to run anymore. He saw a dead-end ally and quickly hid behind a dumpster. Once he was hidden from the street, he held himself in a tight ball and held the thing that had previously saved his life tightly in his hands, hoping that the mob would not find him, and if they did, which was more than likely, then he would have a quick death, which was not so likely. It all depended on the girl with the white lavender-tinted eyes. Naruto's hopes were not high. Hinata. Hinata Hyuga had had a wonderful time at the festival. It was the first time that she could have fun in public. Hinata is from the Hyuga clan that is famous for their eyes that contain the Byakugan, second to only the Uchiha clan in terms of power and popularity. The Hyuga is a clan that have a strong belief in tradition and manners. The clan is divided by birth into two houses, the main and the branch house. The main house is supposed to have the powerful and important members, while the branch house is supposed to serve and protect the main house. Hinata did not understand or like that rule. The Hyuga clan members are also really good at reading emotion and body movements. So everyone has a static face showing no emotion at all times inside the compound, so that no one will know what they are thinking. This is how Hinata is raised, so she loved to be outside the compound. It's too depressing in there for her. So when it was time for the festival, she couldn't have been happier. She had switched her normal black training shirt and pants for a pretty white kimono that was tinted pink and waited for her Chunin protector, Kurenai. Kurenai had been her guardian whenever she was away from the compound since her failed kidnapping the year earlier. Kurenai is one of the most recognized kunoichi in the village because of her looks and her cloths. She was of average height with shoulder-length wild black hair and red eyes. In her rose thorn-style dress, she was one that most of the male population wanted for a girlfriend. Now she wore a purple dress with scattered yellow flowers and a red ribbon around her waist. Her hair was the same though, /in, the one in the Season 2 song opening. Not that it didn't increase the male's feelings. When she arrived, Hinata instantly started to envy her because she thought she would never be as pretty as her, but that didn't ruin her day. She played games, saw a funny puppet show about the Kyuubi's defeat, and eat some of the food. At one of the booths, she saw a blonde kid steal some food. She was about to tell someone, but he put money on the stand so she didn't. Why did the boy look familiar? After the festival, Kurenai took her to a friend's house, one with purple hair, to have dinner before taking her home. The lady was nice and was a really good cook. She wanted to cook like that. After dinner, the two adults told stories of their adventures before they had to leave. Hinata, I forgot to tell you gal something. Stay here, okay? Kurenai said as they were about to exit the door. Hi, Kurenai-san, said Hinata as she left. After about 2 minutes, the girl's 4-year-old mind began to wander. She quickly scanned the content of the room to see if she had missed anything in her earlier looks. To her disappointment, she hadn't. Her attention turned to the street and saw nothing of interest. She was about to go look for Kurenai but stopped. Why is it so bright outside? I thought the sun had set. Her gaze rose to the sky. Wow, I never know that the moon was so bright, she thought as she drifted into the middle of the street, bathing in the moonlight. It was a cloudless night, all the stars were in the sky as well as the moon. It was a truly beautiful, peaceful, and perfect night, until a moving mass crashed into her. Oomph! Came the voices of 2 children. Hinata looked up at the thing that ran into her and saw a sweaty, orange, bloody thing lying there. Fear petrified her so that she couldn't move. Then the thing looked up and she saw that it was just a boy, her age in fact. The boy had blonde hair, but it looked more red because of the blood. He had 3 whisker marks on each cheek. He wore a kill me orange jumpsuit that was all cut up. It looked recent. And he had multiple injuries. Fear and disgust spread to her face. What happened to him? She thought. She guessed that she didn't hide her emotions well because when he looked at her face, his expression turned thoughtful. I know you, Hinata suddenly thought. But where? She looked at his face. You were the one that took food at the festival. But it was before that, right? She started to study his appearance. His hair, it was a little less red. His cloths, they weren't these, but they were still cut. He was hurt. She thought deep. Where do I know you? Then it came to her. USS saved me, she said barely above a whisper. I think the demon is up ahead, came a voice in the closing distance. What demon? Where? She thought frantically, but stopped when she saw the panicked look on the boy's face. He looked around and hobbled in an alley behind a trash can. As soon as the boy was out of sight, a large group of people with different weapons stopped in front of her. Hey, isn't that a Hyuga? Maybe she can see the dem dash. Hey, that hurt, boy. No, she's too young, but she must have seen him. Yeah, you're right. Someone asked her where the dem. Stop with the elbow, boy went. Hinata was scared. Who wouldn't be scared if a mob with weapons saying stuff about demons wanted to talk to you, plus she's 4, as a man in his mid-40s with a katana walked up to her. Miss Hyuga-sama, the man said with much sweetness and respect. We are looking for something that has severely wronged us in the past so that it will never do so again. Would you be so kind as to show us where it went? The man asked with an evil look in his eyes. Hinata looked at the man. Are they talking about the boy? She thought. These people hurt the boy that saved me. Hinata slowly nodded and pointed to a street opposite to the alley. She said he went that way. Let's get him. Why? With that, the mob proceeded to charge down the street, all but one. A genin with white hair looked suspiciously at the alley. Oh no, they're going to find the boy, thought a panicking Hinata. Hey Mizuki, what are you doing? You're going to miss your chance to get the dem dash. Damn it, I think you're enjoying this, boy. The newly named Mizuki looked at Ali again, then at Hinata. Ali, Hinata. Yeah, I'm coming, and left. Hinata let out a breath she didn't know she was holding and fell on her butt. Hinata, said Kurenai as she walked towards her. What are you doing out here? I thought I told you to stay by the door. Sorry, Kurenai-san. Hinata said, still nervous. Kurenai nodded and turned to leave when she saw the form of the retreating mob. She turned and gave the girl a serious look. A bunch of people didn't come by this way, did they? Hinata gave a timid nod. They didn't hurt you, did they? Kurenai asked, worried something happened to her charge. No, ma'am. They asked where a boy went that came by before, she replied. Did you tell them where he went? Kurenai asked. Hinata slowly shook her head, hoping she did not do anything bad, and glanced at the ally. Kurenai-san, missing the glance, gave a sigh. Okay, Hinata, let's get you home. Kurenai-san. Yes. Did the boy do those bad things? No, Hinata, he did nothing wrong. Naruto. Naruto just got into hiding when the mob asked the girl, who apparently was a Hyuga, for his location. This is it, though. She said he went that way. Let's get him. Yeah. Naruto braced himself for his end, but to his surprise the mob was getting quieter until it was non-existent. Naruto couldn't believe it. He was safe. That girl had saved him. Why did she save him? He didn't know her, and she had shown him kindness. No one ever showed him that. Almost nobody. So why did she? Naruto thought hard about this. He just could not figure out why some random girl, who he ran into, was nice to him. He didn't move from that spot, searching deep in his mind for that one answer, and in time he fell asleep. Naruto woke up with a start as a drop of water fell on his head. He looked around trying to take in his surroundings. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. He was in a large concrete tunnel that had water that went to his knees. Great, just great, I'm in a sewer. He then got a sad look. I guess that girl was a bad liar because that mob must have found me and put me here. Wait, when did Konoha get a sewer this big? I've hidden most, but never found this one. He thought as he walked down the tunnel, but stopped when he heard. Well, look who decided to show up after he woke me up from my sleep. Came a demonic feminine growl. Naruto looked around, but couldn't see anyone or anything. Who's to there? He shouted, trying to see farther down the tunnel. Show yourself, or are you scared? He continued, trying to put on a brave face. All he got was a chuckle. Well, aren't you brave, little one? Very well, if you want to see me, come forward. Naruto debated on what to do. On one hand, he could go in the other way and try to find an exit, or he could go to the very scary voice that could very well be a trap. Against his better judgment, he decided to chance it. Naruto carefully crept forward as he prepared himself for a possible ambush. How underprepared he was. In front of him was a gate that had a piece of paper with the kanji symbol seal on it. On the other side of the gate was a gigantic orange fox with 9 tails waving in the air. Well, you are younger than I thought. But then again, I was not expecting you for another 9 years, the fox said with a toothy grin. Naruto just stood there in shock as he looked at the demon he thought was dead. No, it's not possible. How is it here? First you wake me from my sleep, and then you just stand there. Humans are such a strange race. Why you're the Kaikikubi? Naruto stuttered out. How are you here? The 4th Hokage killed you, so you should be in. Wait, but if you went there and I'm here, does that mean I'm dead? He whispered. The QB started to chuckle as she rose to her full height. Yes, I am the 9-tailed fox Kurama, strongest of all the tailed beasts, and queen of the demons, and I am very much alive, as are you. The thought of one such as I being killed by a mere human, even the one you call the 4th, is a laugh and an insult, the QB said. But the Yandame defeated YYU, he said, trying to defend his ideal. Wait, did the QB say it was the queen of demons? The QB is a girl. His thoughts were interrupted. You can't kill a bijou, Brett, only contain them mainly in humans who get called Jinchuriki. That cursed human did just that when he sealed me inside of you, she growled. So why you're inside me? That's what I just said, brat, the beast said and started muttering stuff about stupid humans. Fresh tears started to fall from his eyes. The V villagers are right. I am a monster. No, you're not. You are a little boy who is hated for something he didn't do. But you said the dash. I said that I was sealed inside you, not that I was you, the QB stated. Besides, if you were me, then you be a vixen and would have killed those villagers for just looking at you wrong. Since you're not those things, then the thought of you being me is just insulting, she said. Then she whipped her head around, bared her teeth, gave a low growl, and fixed a glare at Naruto, who stumbled back and started to shiver with fear. You are not insulting me, are you, little brat? She threatened. Naruto wisely shook his head no. Good, because if you were, it would have ended badly for you, she said with amusement. Naruto gave a sigh of relief, then got a confused look. QBWHE dash. Kurama. What? My name is Kurama. If I am going to be stuck with you for the rest of your life, then I want to be called something other than that title you stupid humans gave me, she stated, then muttered. The QB, really, it's shocking they got that right and didn't call me the Sambai or something, Bacchus. Well, Q dash. What did I just say? Kurama, Kurama. Naruto shouted to make sure that the fox could hear him and not harm him. Tisk. Kaikurama, where are we? Naruto was finally able to ask. We're in your Mindscape kit. Kurama. What? She said, a little annoyed. What is a mind's cap? He said, embarrassed at not knowing. Kurama gave a small sweat drop. Right, he is only 4. I can't use complicated words, she berated herself. The Mindscape is basically a land in your mind. It is also the location of this infernal cage, she said, throwing a claw at the bars, which just glanced off. Naruto nodded his head and started to think about what he had just learned. Okay, so, first, the QB is alive. Second, the QB is sealed inside me. Third, the 4th sealed the QB inside me. Fourth, I am probably the only thing stopping it from destroying Konoha. He gave grin at such an accomplishment. Fifth, I am a Jinchuriki. Sixth, the QB is a girl. Seventh, the QB's name is Kurama. Sixth, I am in a mine or mindscape place. Once he got his thoughts straight, he looked at Kurama in wonder. Here in his mind is the strongest creature in the world, his mind, of all people. At that moment, his young brain burst with questions. How old are you? Who were you created? Are you really the most powerful demon? Could I be as strong as you? Are you really a girl? Am I your first Jinchuriki? Kurama was getting more and more annoyed as her container continued his question assault. Her annoyance was quickly turning to anger. Will he ever shut up? Why did you attack Konoha? As soon as the question came out, he was hit with a blast of ki. If you are a smart boy, then you will not ask me that. But what happened? You killed a lot of people, and everyone blames me for it. I just want to know why, he asked in a small voice. Kurama let the ki die down and rested her head on her paws. I will tell you when you are older, just leave it at that, she said with a sad sigh. Naruto wanted to protest, but he heard the tone the Kyuubi used and dropped it. Naruto looked over the fox again, thinking about the next question he was going to ask when he suddenly thought of one. Kurama, do you want to be friends? He asked with a smile. What? She asked, truly shocked. Do you want to be my friend? She looked at him for a minute as if in thought. Naruto's hope was rising with the thought of finally having a friend every second that passing until it immediately died when she burst out laughing. Ha 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 me. Kurama, queen of demons, being friends with a human of all creatures. Oh, that's rich. As she continued to laugh for a good 10 minutes, making Naruto feel worse and worse. Don't take it the wrong way, kid, she said as she started to calm down. But humans are not very high on my favorite species list. One of the few I could truly get along with was my last container. And I do have a reputation to keep after all, and being friends with a human will not help it. And I will tell you about her later, she said, stopping his question and lying back down to rest. Friends with a human, really? Naruto closed his mouth and wondered about the woman who could get on the legendary Kyuubi's good side. Wow, she must have been so cool. Now get out of here. What? I said get out, wake up, scram. The point is I want you to leave so I can get back to sleep, she said, taking slow, deep breaths. But I don't want to leave. I have so many more questions to ask. I bet you do, and if you ask, then I will never get to sleep, she stated. Naruto's body started to fade. What is happening? He shouted as he panicked. You are waking up. By the way, I would move my head to the left if I were you. Will I ever see you again? Move my head to the what? Crazy fox. Sadly, yes, but only when I am ready for you will that happen. Naruto nodded as his body faded from the mindscape. Well, Kushina, you created one interesting kit, Kurama thought in amusement as she drifted off to sleep. Outside mindscape. Ow, ow, ow. Why does my body hurt so, Moo? Well, you're right. I was nearly killed. What is that noise? He thought as he tried to open his eyes. Damn it, demon, I said, move your ass off my property. Naruto rubbed the sleep from my eyes. Well, if me yelling at you won't make you move, then maybe this will. Oomph. Naruto opened his eyes and saw something coming at him at a high speed. Thud. Naruto's eyes went as wide as saucers as he looked at the butcher knife that was embedded in the wall by his head. He had yawned and tilted his head to the left when the knife passed his head, cutting off a very thin layer of skin on his ear. Damn it, I missed. Naruto's eyes focused on the person that threw the knife. She was a civilian woman, probably in her mid-30s, with a white apron on. Maybe I should ask my son for lessons on how to throw a knife, so I won't miss next time. Oh well, practice makes perfect, she muttered as she went for another knife. When she came back to the ally, all she could see was a dust trail leading away. Mom, what are you doing? Nothing, sweetie. Just saw some creature by the trash and made it leave. Mom, you can't call me sweetie anymore. I am a ninja now. You could be Hokage, but I am your mother, so I can anything I want. Do you understand that? Why, yes, ma'am. Good, now what do you want for breakfast? Troublesome woman. What was that, sweetie? Nothing. I want the dish from last night. Okay. Naruto was walking down the street, his apartment, thinking about what had happened last night. Well, at least I know why everyone hates me. Well, not me, Kurama. He decided that he better look where he was going so not to bump into anyone again. Don't want that to happen again. He saw the looks people gave him as he passed. They were looks of annoyance and dislike, not the white-hot hatred that they had the night before. Kurama's right, these people are stupid. There has to be at least some who know I'm not the Kyuubi. If I was, the chances of these people living are slim to none if the stories about her are true. I'll show them I'm not the Kyuubi. I'll be the greatest ninja ever. I am Naruto Uzumaki Jinchuriki of Kurama, and I will be the greatest Hokage ever, believe it. His face sported a grin as he got to a spot that had a clear view of the Hokage monument. As he looked over the different faces of the pasted Hokages, his eyes settled on the fourth. Greater even than you, he thought. Naruto had different thoughts when it came to the Yondaime Hokage. He felt incredible anger at him, not for what was done to him. So far, Kurama was not that bad, just really scary when she wanted to be. He was mad at what he has caused him. Because of him, no one was nice to him except for the third, the Ichiraku people, and that Hyuga girl. But on the other hand, the young boy could somewhat understand his motives for doing so. Ever since he could remember, he has heard people talk about how great and powerful the fourth. He has also heard about the level of damage Kurama had caused, and according to her, there is no one who is as powerful as her. And if that is true, then sealing her was the only way to stop her. Maybe I was just the closest, so he chose to seal her in me, he thought, cursing his luck. As Naruto made his way into his apartment, he thought about the man he saw as a grandfather. I wonder if Gigi knows about me being a Jinchuriki. Of course he knows he's the Hokage. But why did he not tell me? Why did he say that Kurama was dead? He had to know that you can't kill a Bijou, so why did he lie? The thought of one of the few people that was nice to him lying to him was not a feeling that Naruto liked. Then he thought about the one that had saved him. He had never met her, had he? She looked familiar and had been nice to him by leading that mob away from him. He hadn't done anything to her, well, except run into her. Naruto thought she would want him punished for that action. That bastard did. But instead of having him hurt, like so many did, she had saved him. Why did she save me? That is the question that was stuck in the boy's mind for the next 6 months, and for the life of him, he could not find any answer. Why? 6 months later. Hinata. Hinata, sweetie, it is such a nice day today. How about I take you to the park, so you can play with children your age? Besides, I think there will be a clan meeting today, and I would rather enjoy the day than be in a day-long meeting, wouldn't you? Haruka asked her daughter. Hi, mother. Let me get ready, and we can leave, Hinata said as she hurried to get ready. Haruka giggled at the sight of her daughter rushing to get ready. She just wants to leave the compound. Not that I blame her, this place is way too depressing. I'm ready, Hinata said, stopping in front of her mother with a smile on her face. All right. Niji-kun, would you be so kind as to tell Hayashi that Hinata and I will be at the park for the day? She asked her nephew with a kind smile. Of course, Haruka-sama, he said with a bow and a rare true smile reserved only for her. Thank you, Niji-kun. Let's we go, sweetie, she said, heading to the door. Coming, mother, came a voice behind her. Naruto. Naruto woke up with the sunlight in his eyes. Ugh, is it daytime already? Well, I better get up and start my day. Maybe I can get some ideas for a new prank in the village today. With that in mind, he reluctantly crawled out of his bed to start his day. He walked around his messy apartment looking for some clothes that could pass as clean because his jumpsuit was ruined and the store that sold it to him either had none in stock or just didn't want to sell him any. It was probably the latter. After about 5 minutes of looking, he found a pair of shorts and a black shirt that had a red swirl on the back. Now dressed, he went to his kitchen and started to heat water for his instant ramen breakfast. As he waited for the water to heat up, he went to finish his morning ritual. After he finished his breakfast, he was about to leave when he returned to his bed and removed a plank on the floor to reveal a box. Carefully opening it, he pulled out a necklace before putting the box and plank back into their original position. Standing up, he looked at the object in his hands, the very same that had saved his life. The necklace had a simple strap with a ruby. The ruby was tire-shaped and a little bigger than a quarter and about half an inch thick. What was interesting about it, though, was that there was a black swirl in the middle of the ruby like the one on the back of his shirt, just neater and better. Naruto knew that this necklace was by far the most important and expensive thing that he owned. He had even went to a jeweler to see if it was real, but it did not go so well. Flashback. It was 3 days since the mob attack, and Naruto was lying on his bed looking at the necklace in front of him. I wonder if this thing is real. If it is, then maybe I can sell it and move out of this apartment. No, I can't do that. This necklace saved my life. I can't just sell it. But I wonder if it is real. It looks too pretty to be fake, but I want to know for sure. Naruto jumped off his bed, grabbed the necklace, and ran out the door to the store that had had a diamond on the now broken window. Taking a deep breath to calm his now nervous heart, he opened the door and walked inside. The store had a lot of people in it. All of them were so busy looking at shiny and glitter rings, necklaces, and bracelets that no one seemed to notice him as he made his way to the display case. He had stares in his eyes. He saw all the expensive items right in front of him. Hey, you little monster, where did you get that necklace, HN? Came a not-so-nice voice behind him. Naruto turned to see a man in a fancy cloths glaring at him, and eyeing the object in his hands. Naruto brought it to his chest as a way to protect it. "I found it," he stuttered out. The man looked even madder than before. "You found it. You found it. You and I both know that you're trying to steal it. I know because I saw that necklace earlier and was planning on getting it for my wife. And I am not going to let some demon brat steal something while the rest of us, normal people, have to pay for stuff. Now hand it over." Naruto didn't even respond as he ran out of the store. The ruby had to be real if someone was willing to make up such a lie to get it. Naruto heard, "Hey, get back here with my necklace," behind him, and turned to see the fancy cloth guy at the jewelry store door shaking his fist in a rage. "Nope, this is my necklace now," he thought with a smile. In flashback, Naruto gave a frown at the thought. How can people be so blind to think I am anything like the fox? Ever since that day, he had worn the necklace in hope of it bringing him luck and protection. Putting it on, he put it under his shirt and looked at his reflection and gave a confident smile as he pointed to himself. "You are Naruto Uzumaki, and you are going to be the best future Hokage ever. Believe it," he shouted as he ran out the door to start his day. Naruto gave a tired and satisfied sigh as he left the Ichirahu stand after having lunch and started to wander around with no destination in mind. "Man, it is already past noon, and I still have no ideas for my next prank." He stopped when he saw the four faces on the Hokage monument. His face adopted a sinister grin, unless... Ow. Naruto was rubbing his head as he picked himself off the ground and looked around for what hit him. His eyes spotted a ball just a few feet away from his person. Picking himself up, he walked to the ball and picked it up for closer examination. "Hey, over here. Could you throw the ball over here?" Naruto turned his head to see a boy a little older than him waving his arm to get his attention. "Throw it," the boy shouted. Naruto looked at the boy and was about to throw the ball when he decided against it and began to walk over to the boy. Here you go," he said as he handed the ball to the boy. "Thanks. Oh, and sorry about hitting you in the head earlier. It turns out my friend was lying about his aim skills," he chuckled as he to a group of boys behind him. One of the said boys were red in the face and appeared to be giving a nervous laugh, but was too far away to tell. "So, do you think maybe I could play with you guys?" Naruto asked carefully. "Sure, we might have enough room for you to play. Let me go ask them," he said as began to walk back with Naruto behind him with hopeful thoughts in his head. Once they got close enough, the boy called out to his friends. "Hey guys, this kid wants to play with us. Do we have room for him?" The boys looked around and saw Naruto, and two of the boys got nervous looks on their faces. The first boy spoke. "Yeah, you can PL dash." Guys, could we talk about this for a second?" One of the nervous boys interrupted. The first boy looked agitated at being interrupted, but saw the look on number two's face. "Sure, I guess we could talk." Turning to Naruto, "Give us a sec, okay?" Boy one said as he went to his friends. Naruto just gave a slow nod, not liking the way boy two looked, as he watched the group back away to what they thought was a safe distance and couldn't be heard. The key word, though, was thought. The group? "Dude, what do you want to talk about?" "There aren't too many people here for him not to play," Boy 1 asked. "I know, but I don't think it is a good idea to be around him," Boy 2 stated. Boy 1 gave a confused look. "Why?" "Well, my Ka-san says that he is a mass killer." Boy 1 just looked at his friend. "No offense, but your mom was always a bit nuts," he said. Another boy decided to add his thoughts. "I don't know. I heard he was a monster." Boy 1 looked behind him to see Naruto staring at an anthill while he waited to look back at 2 and Tree. "How could he be a killer? He looks only 4 or 5. Not even old enough for the academy." 2-san said he was an evil demon in human form, and that he looks like a kid to get close to ya and stab ya, Boy 3 said, and 2 nodded in agreement. Boy 1 looked at them for a second, then started to fake laugh. "Ha ha, that is not a very funny joke, guys. That is very mean," he said. Boys 2 and 3 shook their heads. "We're not joking, we're serious. Haven't any of you heard of the monster that lives in Konoha?" 2 asked, hoping to have someone back up his claim. The group thought about it, seeing if they could remember anything. "Well, I heard some villagers say that after the 4th Hokage died that a monster decided to live in the village. Okasan said that a demon live here and is waiting to kill everyone." My Gigi said that a monster's human form looks real and grows the same as us to make us like it more. The boy group kept throwing around what they remember about the topic, and by the end, boy one was quite nervous. He did not necessarily believe what he heard, but to hear so many comments that basically say the same thing, a part of him found it true. Naruto. When the boy left to go talk to his group, Naruto had hoped that they would talk about something that wasn't about him. But that hope was dashed as he could hear every word that they were saying. I guess that Kurama has increased my hearing. Sigh. I was so close to being able to play with them. I guess kids will believe anything you tell them, he thought. He squat down to look at an anthill he found trying to divert his attention away from the group's conversation. Sadly, though, he failed miserable. Boy 1 walked over to Naruto, who had a dark rain cloud over his head, as the huddle ended. Hey listen, you see my friends reminded me T. Well, if you play then we would have too many people, sorry, he said nervously. Naruto felt his anger rise. Here is this boy, who just a second ago was talking to his friends about all the bad things that the villagers made up about him, tell some crappy lie to his face. I bet that is what they told you, he said with a glare. I am sorry, but you see can't play. You can watch though. Please don't hurt me, he said, shaking a little. Naruto's anger vanished. This guy is afraid of me. He, like everyone else in this village, think I'm a monster. Whatever, Naruto said sadly as he walked away from the group and sat under a tree a little further away. Hinata. Haruka and Hinata were currently sitting on a picnic blanket in the middle of the park, just enjoying the day. They were just relaxing and enjoying each other's company, but Haruka gave a sigh of disappointment. All throughout the day, she had tried to get her daughter to social and play with children her own age, but each time she politely refused, saying that she would rather stay by her mother's side. It is not that she didn't love to spend time with her daughter. She cherished the alone time with her, but ever since her failed kidnapping, she had become shy, and her only friend outside the compound is her guard Kurenai. In the end, she gave up trying, and the two had lunch. Hey, over here. Could you throw the ball over here? Both Hyugas looked up to see Naruto talk to the group of boys. They saw the boys form a huddle and rejected Naruto afterwards, who went to sit by a tree. That poor boy. I wish I could help him, but Hayashi would be greatly upset if I was directly involved with the boy, she thought, but then looked at her daughter, and a small smile grew on her lips. Hinata had seen the confirmation the strange blonde-haired boy had with the others and felt a little upset. There is the boy that saved her from being kidnapped, and everyone was mean to him. Ka-san, she started. Would it be all right if I go play with that boy? She said, pointing to Naruto. Haruko took a pose as if she in thought before she replied. Yes, you can go, but behave. Yes, mother, she said as she made her way over to the boy. Naruto. Naruto brought his knees to his chest as he looked at all the boys play ball. Why did this have to happen to me? One friend, just one friend, is that too much to ask, Kami? I guess it is, since no one what to be around the demon boy. Hello. Naruto turned his head and saw the girl that had saved him. Unlike the last time he saw her, she wore a black training outfit, and she seemed more nervous than last time. Hi, my name is Hinata. Naruto looked at her for a second, then a smile spread across his face. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm going to be the greatest Hokage ever, believe it. Hinata was shocked at his exclamation. Naruto saw this and started to sheepishly rub the back of his head in embarrassment of his outburst. In all honesty, Naruto expected her to leave and call him an idiot or something like that, but he did not expect her to start giggling into her hand. You're funny, and Naruto. He looked at her for a short while thinking if he should ask the question that had given him such a horrible rejection every time before. Something seemed to tell him that he should. Hinata, do you, possibly, you'd want to play with me? He once again asked. Hinata could tell the boy Naruto was nervous, and so was she. Turning her head, she looked at her mother silently, asking for permission. Please, Kami, let her say yes. I will do anything for a friend. Please just let me have a friend. Okay. Ka-san said that it was okay to play with you and Naruto. She was nervous. She had never played with anyone her own age. She did not know what to do. Naruto froze. Did she just agree to play with him? Yes, she did, and her mother was all right with it. He just looked at her with a blank face that slowly rose to a grin that went from ear to ear. Quickly snatching up her hand, he dragged her to the swing set and told her to sit down while he pushed. "Okay," she said as she did as he asked. And the two children did something that they have never done before. They had fun without a care in the world. Haruko just smiled at the scene that involved her shy daughter and the outgoing blonde boy. It seems that opposites do attract. They will be good for each other in the future, she thought with a smile. Sama. Haruko turned to the one that interrupted her thoughts and saw a civilian woman in the 30s. "Hi. I would like to inform you that that thing is attacking your daughter," she said, pointing to the two kids playing. Haruko frowned. "I'm sorry, but it seems that you're mistaken. I do not see this thing you are referring to, just two kids playing." The woman gave Haruko a "are you stupid" look. "Hyuga-sama, surely you know what that boy really is, right?" "Yes, I know that he is the one that holds the thing that tried to destroy us, and he see my daughter worthy enough to play with. I feel honored." "But Hyuga-sama, aren't you worried that it will force itself on her?" It was Haruko's turn to give the "are you stupid" look. "Well, if anything happens, then I will put a stop to it. But until then, I will let the kids have their fun." The woman gave her a disgusted look. "I see that you are one of those demon lovers, Hyuga-sama. If it were up to me, then it would have been put to death the moment it was brought into this world," she said as she glared daggers at Naruto. "Well, then it is a good thing that this decision was made by our Hokage and not a simple civilian then. Now, if that is all you had to say, please be on your way." Haruko dismissed. "Yes, that all. Good day, Hyuga-sama." She rudely spoke to the demon lover and being called simple. She walked away. Haruko gave a sad sigh. The people of her village won't let go of their hatred toward the beast and are putting on a little innocent boy. It is quite sad, really. She looked at the two who are now chasing each other. It was like the beginning scene of a romance novel she used to read as a little girl. And call her crazy, she had a feeling that this was the beginning of a good one. That day had been the day that Naruto had been dreaming/hoping for his whole life. He finally had a friend. Since that day, Naruto and Hinata could be seen playing with each other every other day, and the two children quickly became best friends. That was Naruto's life for the past 2 months. Now the two could be seen lying under a tree on opposite side, with Haruko talking with some people not too far away. Earlier that day, Hinata had told him that she was going to be a big sister in about 8 months, followed by a game of tag, and finally a picnic thanks to Haruko, who was slowly becoming Naruto's mother figure. After eating, the two went to the tree, each lost in their own thoughts. Hinata thinking what would life as a big sister be like, while Naruto was thinking the same thing he had since he ran into his friend. Why did she save him? He just didn't know. He had come up with tons of possible answers, but he did not know if any of them were right. It was driving him crazy. "Sigh, Hinata." "Why, yes. Why did you save me that time?" Hinata knew what he was talking about. She had gotten to know her blonde friend over the past few months to know that very few people were kind to him, and he was wondering why was/is she. The answer was simple, really. Because in Naruto, you saved him mine. Out of all the possible reasons he come up with, that was not one of them. Flashback. Naruto was on his way back to the village. Skipping to a tone, he was humming. When he was done, he smiled as he thought what was to come. Earlier that month, some bigger boys made him mad and led him to a spot where they dropped orange-dyed water on his head and then proceed to laugh at him. Getting over his anger, he asked the boys, Izumo Kamizuki, Kotetsu Hagain, why they did that. They told him that it was a prank. Still confused, they told him what a prank was, why they were used, and some of their uses. As an apology, they even said that they would even help with his first prank. That got Naruto very excited. Earlier that month, a traveling store owner that had been in the village 3 years ago when it was attacked threw an apple at him and left a bump. He had heard that he would be leaving the next day and would be taking the route he is on. So for revenge, he made a plan. He had the older boys place buckets of paint in the trees that were above the path. His part was to tie wire to the right places and lead the shop owner there. The boys would be taking payment in pictures. Unfortunately for him, the wire had taken a lot longer than he thought, forcing him to stay up as night covered the forest. It was way past his bedtime, and he was tired, hungry, and in a really good mood. Finally, I got done with my plank. Now all I gotta do is wait for that big meanie tomorrow. Now I tired, so I need to sleep. He stopped when he heard his stomach and looked down. Haha, it looks like you are hungry, tummy. Maybe the nice noodle people will give us more food. Tummy likes their no. What is that smell? Naruto and sniffed the air. Turning towards the smell, he saw a faint light in the distance. What is that? It looks like a flashy bug, he thought as he started to move towards the light. The closer he got to the light, the brighter it got, and the better the smell got. Come on, almost there, he thought, reaching out his hands in a grabby motion. Then the light disappeared. Hey, where did Flashy Bug go? Disappointed, he was about to head back when he heard grunts coming from where the light was. Curious, he continued forward until he was in a clearing. The clearing was clear except for 4 things. 1. There was a log near him. 2. There was a sack near the log. 3. There was a circle of rocks with gray and orange in it on the other side of the clearing fire pit. 4. That was a man stomping in the circle eating some food on a stick. Foot. I want some, but that man looks scary. I'll take some from the bag. Quietly, he crawled over to the bag and untied the bag. He was shocked that instead of food in the bag, there was a little girl with dark blue hair and white lavender-tinted eyes. Pretty, he thought, but that is not what came out. You're not food, he said, pointing an accusing finger at the girl. Despite being confused and scared as hell, the girl started to giggle into her hand. Hey brat, what are you doing here? Naruto looked up and saw the man was looking at him, and he looked mad. Time to go, he said as he took off running. Get back here, brat, the man yelled as he gave chase. When Naruto exited the forest, he started down the path again. Looking over his shoulder, he saw the older man was following him. This is fun, he thought. Brat, get back here. You will never get me, ha ha ha. Why, you little? The chase lasted a few minutes until Naruto recognized a certain tree. Almost there, just a few more steps now. Jumping as far as he could, he kept running until he heard what he was waiting for. Thud. Stopping and turning around, he saw the man was on his bottom covered in red, black, and orange paint with one of the buckets on his head. Completely forgetting the situation he was in, he fell on his back laughing. Getting over his shock, the man stared at the kid that did this to him, forgetting about his mission. He could only see red. Why, you little brat? I'll fucking kill you, he yelled as he landed his most powerful kick on the bod, sending him flying into a tree head first. Brat, don't think I'm done with you. He then proceeded to beat him to a pulp, taking out all his anger in the process. 8 trigrams vacuum palm. The blast knocked the man off of the unconscious boy, killing him before he hit the ground, and the path was suddenly filled of people. 1 Hokage, 1 Hyuga Hayashi, 2 Umbu, and 2 Hyuga branch members. Lord Hokage, this is the Cloud Nin ambassador. Hayashi-sama's jutsu killed him, and Umbu said. I see in the boy. He's alive, the Umbu said with disappointment, but he will need medical attention. Hayashi-sama. Everyone turned to see Hayashi's younger twin brother, Hizashi, appear with the girl in his arms. I found Hinata-sama in a clearing not far from here. I believe little Naruto distracted the Cloud Nin. He informed them as Hinata walked over to see her savoir. What, that is nonsense, and I don't want to hear otherwise. Am I understood? But how could Yohu? Yes, Lord Hayashi-sama, he said with a sigh. Come, Lady Hinata. Taking one last look at the beaten boy, she turned around to follow her family. Hi. In flashback. That was you. Naruto peering around the tree. She nodded her head, even though he couldn't see. Yes, a Cloud Nin tried to kidnap me. You saved me. Thank you. Naruto just smiled. Well, I guess that means we're even, right? The years that followed the meeting of the two was really eventful, and those events will be stuck in their young minds forever. The first event was more like a tragedy. Haruko had given birth to a baby girl named Hanabi, but had died shortly after, though the combination of childbirth and a rare Hyuga illness that weakens the body over time. When news of her death was told to Naruto and Hinata, Hinata had cried in Naruto's arms for a whole day until she had finally fallen asleep. Picking her up gentle, he made his way to the Hyuga compound where he snuck inside and placed her on her bed. Looking at her sleeping form, he saw a tear roll down her face before he left to his own apartment. Once inside, he unleashed the tears he had been holding back all day full force. As he cried and mourned the loss of his mother figure and precious person, he made a silent promise to become stronger, to protect his precious people, and to never ever make Hinata cry. In the time that followed Haruko's death had grown closer together by helping each other cope with their lose, but neither fully did, thought Hinata was the worst. She was shyer and stuttered more than ever. To make matters worse for her, her bastard of a father Hayashi started to train her in the Hyuga's gentle fist style, punishing and berating her for every little mistake she made, making her self-confidence basically non-existent unless she was with Naruto in private. The second event was that the two of them entered the civilian school and then ninja academy. As he'd expected, the teachers at both schools tried to sabotage Naruto's education. The teachers would purposely teach him wrong or just ignore his questions. Hinata did not know why this was, but every time she had asked him about it, he just shrugged it off and told her not to worry about it. Even though it bothered her that he would not tell her, she still taught him what she'd learned to the best of her ability. Naruto also received help from a lady with purple hair and was a little obsessed with snakes and sharp thing to be considered healthy. Guess who? He had met her after he had gotten kicked out of his civilian class, for no reason, and stole her dango stick. What preceded was a chase around the village with her trying to get it back. Once she got it back, after a major, playful, beat down, she had asked, "Ain't a brat like you supposed to be in school at this time?" After telling his reason why he was out of school, Anko, the woman, if any of you did not know, adopted a scowl on her face and said that she would teach him what he needed to know if he wanted to live in the worlds that they do. When asked why she was helping him, all she did was give him a sad smile that would look completely foreign to anyone that knew her and said, "I know what it is like to suffer at the hands of ignorant people. Not as much as you, but I still know the feeling." With her and Hinata's help, he managed to pass the civilian school, much to the teacher's frustration. Anko also managed to help Naruto with some of the academy martial before she had to stop due to new missions and responsibilities she got due to a promotion. They still see each other every now and then. The third event that happened was a bittersweet moment for Naruto. He was in a store trying to buy some of the more healthy and edible food to make a surprise for Hinata, but the owner would have none of it. Flashback. "Damn it, brat, for the last time I said no. Now give those back before they become contaminated and get the hell out my store. I'm trying to run a business here, and I have customers to tend to." Naruto just grit his teeth and glare at the man. "Look, old man, I would love to leave this dump that you call a store, but I can't do that unless you want me to steal this stuff. That thought is getting better and better by the second. Also, you say that you have customer to tend to. Well, that is what I am, so tend to my needs." The man was red in the face and shaking with rage. How dare this demon come into his store, charade as a customer, and demand this of him? "Why, you disrespectful dirty demon? Why, I oughta. What is the problem here?" Both of them turned their head to see a woman. "Nothing is wrong, madam. Just caught this little punk trying to sneak out of here without paying." The man apologized before glaring at the shocked-faced Naruto. "What is it with people accusing me of stealing? This is like at that jewelry store," he thought. "What? You lying, old bastard. I'm trying to pay like a good citizen, but you keep on refusing me. Next time I will just take what I need and avoid this shit." The woman looked at the two for a second before lowering herself down to Naruto's level. "Now, young man, it is not polite to take things that do not belong to you," she scolded gently. "What? But I didn't take any dash," but she cut him off. "No, but stealing is wrong." She stood back up and bowed to the store owner. "My apologies, mister. Please let me pay for what you almost lost," she said as she shot a famous smirk at Naruto from her bowed head. Naruto saw the smirk and smiled. "Yes, she is on my side." "That will not be necessary, ma'am. I'll just call the umbu so they can take this troublemaker to a place he deserves to go." No, no, I insist. "Lady, I would not feel right if I let you pay for what this demon did." The woman's head shot up as she glared at the man and no one, but he could see her Sharingan eyes spinning rapidly. "I may be on leave, but I am still a shinobi of this village. And with the law in place, it is within my right that I kill you here and now for what you called this boy. Now you will take what I give you and watch what you say," she whispered fiercely before pulling back with her normal eyes and smile. Both boys looked at her in shock. The man was scared because it was in her right to kill him, and Naruto was thanking Korma for his hearing increase and wonder if this law was the reason no one told him he had a demon in him except when they were in mobs. After the man got over the threat, he settled a glare on the two in front of him. Fine, just pay for the brat's stuff and leave. The woman still had on her smile, gladly. After the things were paid for, the two walked together. Before Naruto spoke, he heard the man mutter, "Traitorous demon-loving Uchiha bitch. Thank you for your help back there, Uchiha-san," he said with a bow. The woman just smiled and waved it off. "No need for formalities, dear. Just call me Makoto, and I was happy to help. That man shouldn't have been so rude anyway." Naruto smiled. This woman, Makoto, was nice too and defended him, and for that he was grateful. "So Naruto, I believe your name is. Why do you need those things so bad that you would put up with people like that?" "Well, you see, that is the 5th store I've tried, and I was running out of time to make what I want." "And what is that?" Naruto debated on whether or not he should tell her. Even though he was grateful for the help she gave him, he had learned the hard way not to completely trust people too soon, but decided there was no harm in it. "My friend and I are going to start at the Ninja Academy, and well, I wanted to make her something special," he said with a small blush. "Cute," she thought with a smile. "Well, I don't have anything to do now, and have been told that I was a whiz in the kitchen." Naruto thought about it. He really didn't know how to cook. He just usually just add water food. And he didn't know how to make cinnamon buns either, so he agreed to her help. Their time together in the kitchen was a surprising joy to both of their day. Naruto found out that she was the wife of the clan head of the Uchiha and the mother of two. One happened to buy the duck butt head boy from school, while she learned that he was an energetic kid whose goal was to get strong to protect those that were important to him and to be the Hokage. They ended up making a dinner for two, perfect for a pair of 8-year-olds, with cinnamon rolls for dessert. The good times ended though when her eldest son, Itachi, came to retrieve his mother. Smiling at her son, Makoto introduced the boys to each other. The boys just stared at each other. Naruto looked him in the eye and could not get a reading off of him until he really concentrated, and what he saw shocked him. In the smallest part of his eyes, he could see confusion, worry, and pain that seemed to intensify when he looked at his mother. But it was gone when he saw that he was being studied by the blonde. "While this guy hides his emotions like he didn't have any," he thought as he said his goodbyes to the two Uchiha and thanking Makoto for her help. In flashback, that night was as perfect as an 8-year-old dinner for two could go. Throughout the meal, Naruto had told Hinata about Makoto and the day they had together. Hinata was a little jealous that some woman was alone with Naruto for that amount of time and the fun that they had, but put it aside because the only reason she was there was so she could have a date with her best friend. They even made her favorite food, cinnamon buns. The week that had followed the dinner, Naruto had looked for Makoto to let her have a taste of their work, but that chance never came. Naruto had heard that the entire Uchiha clan was murdered save for Makoto's youngest by Itachi. The news struck Naruto. He did not understand. Itachi, the one that the villagers called monster, murdered traitor, did not have the eyes of one. When he thought about him, he could see the pain and confusion in his eyes that instanced when he looked at his mom. He knew what he was going to do, and in no way enjoyed it like the villagers said he did. But still, why? Why did he do it? This question bugged he every time he thought about the subject, and he was determined to find an answer. He would not make a final decision until he did. Naruto was standing over Makoto's grave as he let his tears fall. He had come after all the people had left, so no disrespectful word would be said. He had not even known her for a day, and she was already one of his precious people. And he was not the instant trust type. A part of him blamed himself for her death, that she had died because she was nice to him and was punished for it. But instead of feeling too depressed, the thought strengthened his resolve to get stronger. Saying a small prayer and thanking her for their brief friendship, Naruto dug a small hole by the tombstone and buried his last cinnamon bun there, saying that she never got to have one and to enjoy it. These are the events that had happened to the young duo that had strengthened their bond. These events also lead to the one that will happen in the near future that had the two very excited, the academy graduation. 2 days before graduation exam. 5. Now class, I'm sure I don't have to remind you, but the exams are very important. 4. I hope that Naruto-kun passes. I wouldn't know what to do if he didn't. Why is he smiling? 3. Sasuke-kun is so amazing. We will be the best couple ever. What's that Baka smiling at? 2. Okay. Equipment, check. Escape plan, check. Backup escape plan, check. Evil smile, check. 1. Well, the year's almost over. I'm gonna miss the brats. Oh no, I know smile. This can't be good. 0. RRRRINNNNGGG. Boom boom. Click. Naruto. Got to go Iruka-sensei, bye. Naruto called as he dashed out of the classroom, as Iruka gave chase, somehow both weaving through all the students that were in their path. Iruka was so close to not being the subject to his students' pranks. Just 2 more days. Just 2, but no, fate just had to crush that dream. As soon as the bell had rung, Iruka opened his desk to put away papers, and a rainbow paint bomb had exploded, making him look like a rainbow throw up on him. To make it worse, Naruto had taken a picture right at that exact moment. So now he was trying to get the camera and maybe string his neck. But as soon as he followed him out the school, his just disappeared. Damn it, where did that brat go? He asked as he looked around. Sighing, he went back inside to clean up. He could probably find him, but he had better things to do than chase after a student. Walking past him, Hinata was giggling in her hand at the misfortune that fell upon her teacher and walked to get some food at the place where she knew where Naruto was. As she inside the curtain of the Ichiraku stand, she saw her favorite blonde sitting there eating a bowl of ramen with another empty 3 besides him. Hey Hinata-chan, what can I get you today? I am said as she carried 4 now empty bowls to be washed. And nothing today, I am san. IJ just came to speak with Naruto-kun. Hey Hinata, did you like my prank today? He said, finishing his last bowl. Why yes I did. B, but don't you think that it was a little mean doing that to Iruka-sensei? Naruto made a mock thinking pose before his just shrugged his shoulders. Nah. Anyway, did you see the look on his face? She shook her head no. Grinning, he pulled out a picture from his pocket and handed it to her. As soon as she received it, she started to giggle in her hand once more. The picture was a perfect shot of the paint near Iruka's face as well as his look of surprise. Handing back the picture, she turned somewhat serious. Naruto-kun, are you all ready for the exam? He just smiled his happy-go-lucky smile. You bet I'm ready. Watch, I'm going to ace the exam, believe it. Usually she would blush when he used his verbal tick, but when he was behind his mask, she could not. Naruto-kun, please don't use your mask with me, she told him as his fake smile dropped. I just don't get it, he said after a while with his hands and fist. I can do all of the jutsu that they teach us, but not matter how hard I try, I can't get a single damn clone right. Hinata just smiled as he talked. It is just impossible for me to do. I don't even see the use of clones anyway. It is not like they can do anything anyway. But if I don't figure something out, then I won't be able to pass, and I need to pass if I want to be Hokage. Hinata looked at his depressed mood and felt a little bad, so she decided it was time to change the subject. Naruto-kun, how is your prank on the Hokage coming? That got the job done, as now he was smiling his brilliant smile again. I haven't started it yet, but it is going to be sweet. I am going to see if I can find anything that I can use tonight. It is going to be great. Thanks for the idea, by the way, he said, smiling at her, causing her to blush with embarrassment and shame. Yes, it was her idea that he pranked the third, and she wasn't proud of it. But it was either that for have him some paint the Hokage monument and increase his already large number of hater. Since they were little, she had noticed how most for the adults would glare at them and whisper incredibly rude thing they thought they could not hear. She was very confused and a little scared that at the same time. When she had asked Naruto about it, he just told her not to worry about it. Even though Naruto trusted her most in the village, he did not tell her a secret that he obviously wanted to, but was to scare. So until he did, she would wait patiently. So do you want to go to the park? He asked, breaking her out of her thoughts. Is he asking me out on a date? No, if he was, there would be no doubt. Sorry, Naruto-kun, san, want make sure I'm all ready for the exam. Eep, I'm late. Bye Naruto-kun, she called as she started run home. Naruto followed her out the stand, watching her retreating form. Make sure she's ready by abusing the hell out of her team. My Naruto-kun, what would Hinata think if she know if you were staring at her? But as she was running, came a voice by his ear. Jumping back in embarrassment and surprise, he turned around and was greeted to the sight of his nascent stern face. No, it is not like that, Nachon. You see, I was thinking, and I was looking in her direction, and dash. Oh, I get it, you were thinking about her as she was running away. How romantic. Yes. No. I was thinking about her, but not like that. So you don't like her? Yes, I do like her dash. Ah, I knew it. Oh, you will look so cute together. No, Nachon, it not like that. Well, it is just, He stopped trying when the saw I clutching her side laughing. And each on. Sorry, Naruto, but it was just too easy, I could not resist. He walked away with an agitated look, muttering something about troublesome Nachans. Later that night. Man, Gigi need to up the security in this place. That was way too easy, Naruto said as he appeared in the Hokage's office. Okay, what to look for. He carefully made his way around the office, looking to anything that he could use to embarrass his grandfather figure. A little disappointed that he could not find anything in any part of the room, he went to the only place left. The desk. Opening the drawer, he found nothing that he hadn't expected. Paperwork. Bill. Paperwork. Oh, hidden kanai. Paperwork. Oh no, Gigi has one of those orange books too. Paperwork. Paperwork. Oh, what's this? Paperwork. A journal. Paperwork. Bill. Wait, a journal? Naruto picked up the journal from where he threw it and sat at the desk to begin his research. Regrets. That's a weird name. Oh, well, let's see what we got in here. He opened the journal, something he probably shouldn't have done. He quickly realized why the book was named as it was. Each page in the journal was something that his Gigi ordered that lead to some ninja's death, much to Naruto's horror, or something he felt like he could have prevented. Looking though, he was shocked about how much the Hokage regretted in his life. One of his students apparently turning into a very, very bad criminal. The suicide missions of people named Dan Kato and Nawaki Senju that he could not prevent. He kept flipping though. One of the pages was named Uchiha Massacre, but only the title remained, for the rest of the page was gone. But the one that got his attention the most was the one titled Naruto. Why am I in Gigi's regret book? There has been nothing but bad things in here, and he is not the one responsible for my life. Farther down the page were two letters with his name on them. One looked like it was written in a guy who was in a hurry, the other was done in a feminine way. Curious, he grabbed the one with the man's handwriting before sitting down to read. All original reasons for being there out of his mind. Naruto. I don't have much time as the QB is attacking and the village needs me. If you are reading this, that means that you are a Jounin, 18, or that Hiruzen thinks you are ready for the truth. My name is Minato Namikaze. I am the 4th Hokage, and I am your father. My father is the 4th Hokage. He looked at the picture on the wall that held his father's face before continuing with his reading. I plan to seal the QB inside of you, making you its Jinchuriki. You are not the demon, just its prison, in order to save the village. I'm sorry, but it had to be you because I could not ask any of the other parent for something that I could not do myself. I hope that you are able to control its power and that the village sees you as the hero that you are. If that is not the case, then I am truly sorry for the pain that I've caused you. It is not my intention. I've have a few fail-safe in case that happens though. You know Jiraiya. He is your godfather, and I've changed your appearance to look more like me so that it is no question who your father is. To appear in your original form, cross your figures and bring it to your forehead. Then do like you would to releasing a Jinjutsu. I am truly sorry for the pain I might have caused you and that I won't be there to see what a wonderful man you have become. Just know that I will always love you and will always be proud of you. Love you always. Dad. To say that Naruto was mad would be like saying Konoha has ninja in it. He was livid. His father is the one that did this to him. His father is the one who is the cause of all his pain. His father is the one who assigned him a godfather that has never shown himself. His father is the one who put a fucking demon, although she has been neutral so far, inside of him. What kind of a father does that? His father who had changed his appearance to look more like himself. Who does that? Love your child for what they are. His father gave him a life where he knew that there was a chance that he would live hell on earth, and yet he did it anyway. He even wrote an apology. What kind of a father fucking does that? He was about to let out a scream of rage when he remembered where he was and that he had another letter to read. After taking many Many calming breaths, he took the last letter and began to read. Naruto-kun. The name was a little blurry, and that part of the paper was wrinkled. Most likely from a water source. He guessed tears, and instantly his anger was gone. I am so sorry. The QB is attacking the village, and your father is off fighting it. But I fear that it won't be enough, and he will seal it in you. Before I go any farther, my name is Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, head of the Uzumaki clan, second Jinchuriki of the QB, and your mother. My mother was Kurama's other Jinchuriki? No way. I believe that Minato will make you a Jinchuriki and hope that the village will see you as the hero that you are, but the death and destruction rate is so high already, I do not believe they will honor this wish. I will try to have Minato change his mind, but this is one disagreement that I don't think I can win. For that I am truly sorry for the pain you had to go through. I do not think I will survive the night, so I will tell you this now. In the Uzumaki compound you will find letter I wrote to you while I was pregnant with you, if you haven't already. I hid them in different rooms to make a game out of it when you were older. They will tell you all you need to know about being the heir/head of a clan, as well as some other things. I wish I could see the handsome young man you will grow up to be and meet the wonderful girl you are destined to be with. Images of a white-eyed friend flashed through his mind. There is so much more I wish to tell you, by if I don't stop now then I won't be able to bear it. Love you more than you could ever know. Mom. Naruto stayed silent for a long time. His mother never wanted him to be like he was. It was against her wish, but his father did it anyway. The anger towards his father was completely negated by what he felt from reading his mother's letter, and the shock of the information was enough to make his body shut down and reboot to autopilot. Almost robot-like, he put the room exactly like he found it, saved the 2 letters, and exited the building. He did not know where he was going. He did not even completely register that he was outside, only that the temperature was nice. He was knocked out of his state when his head hit a metal surface, landing him on his butt. Rubbing his head and silently cursing to himself, he looked up and saw a gate with a swirl. His heart started to speed up when he saw a circle with a swirl on it like his necklace. Biting his thumb enough to draw blood, he applied it to the swirl like he vaguely remembered from class about entering compounds. The seal seemed to glow a bit, and a click was heard. Slowly pushing open the gate, and when inside the dark compound, he did not go into any of the rooms except for one. As he opened the door, he saw a room with a queen-size bed in a somewhat plain room. That was as much as he saw because he fell on the bed with a tired sigh after what had been an emotionally exhausting day. He fell asleep with a smile on his face and one thought in his mind. I'm home. Hinata was waiting patently at Naruto's door, wondering what was taking him so long. She had arrived about 20 minutes ago and was knocking every 5 minutes. I wonder what is taking Naruto-kun so long. Maybe I could use the Byakugan to see if his is okay. No bad, Hinata, bad. She thought as a blush started to rise on his face. The last time Naruto was late was because he had overslept and was taking a shower. Hinata, worried about her friend's tardiness, used her Byakugan to see what was going on. She saw something that she had not wanted to see until she was older. After that, she was not able to look at him with a normal face for about 3 weeks after that. Still, and maybe one little peep just to see if he's okay wouldn't hurt, she thought as she started to channel chakra to her eyes. Hey Hinata. Eep. Bonk. Hinata turned to see her favorite blonde grinning at her, trying not to laugh, but not before she hit the ceiling from fright. And Naruto-kun, don't frighten me out like that, she said as she was rubbing the small bump that had grown on her head. Gomenasai, Hinata, but you looked like you were lost in thought, and that was the best and funniest way for me to snap you out of it. Anyway, let's get going. We will be late for the academy if we don't, he said as he started to walk away. Hinata just stared at his retreating form. Since when did Naruto care about going to the academy? Usually she had to make him go. She would have thought of it more about it, but she saw that he was no longer there. Naruto-kun, wait for me, and ran to caught up with him. As they were walking to the academy, they were subjected to the glares and harsh whispers of the villagers they passed. Well, she wasn't. This was not unusual as they've been doing this for years now, but now Naruto was glaring back. This was new because before all he did was have his happy-go-lucky mask on and ignore them, and Hinata hated that mask. She guessed that he was tired of looking down upon and was now retaliating. It made part of her happy, but she was curious about why he did it today. She was not the only one surprised, and villagers that saw his glare quickly went back to what they were doing. Naruto-kun, how was your prank on El Lord Hokage? What? Oh yeah. I don't think I'm going to go through with it, he said as the building came into view. That shook Hinata so much that she stopped, cleaned her ears, and reviewed her memories. What, you're not going to do your prank? Why? Never, never ever had any of Naruto's targets been spared from his pranking wrath, not even the Hokage. So why now? She did not get it. Naruto stopped as he was about to enter the academy building and turned around. I think my Kasan would want me to pass the test instead of doing a prank on the third, and walked in. Once again, she was shocked. She knew that one of Naruto's dreams was to find out who his parents were, and based on what he just said, he'd found his mom. She smiled as she could only imagine the happiness he must have felt. 2. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his Kasan. Best day ever. Hey Hinata, you coming? Naruto's voice echoed from the school. Hi. And she went inside. Today was a very good day for one Irika Yumino. Yes, sir, a very good day. First, it was the last day before the graduation. So that means in less than 74 hours the brats will be out of his hair. Second, was that every one of the seats was filled so he did not have to waste time going through the attendance list to see who wasn't there. Third, he went through his entree lecturer/review without any interruptions, not even a wisecrack. Fourth, was that it appeared that Naruto was really paying attention and seemed to understand most of what he was talking about. The look in his eyes told him that his was listening to every word that came from his mouth, and it made him feel that special feeling he got when he taught. He even listened when the other asked questions, sometimes even looking relieved when a student asked a question about a difficult subject. Fifth, class was now over, and there was no paint bomb in sight. Just one more day? Based off of today, he started to believe that Naruto was actually going to pass the exam. He knew Hinata would be a good influence eventually. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his Kasan. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Best day ever, were the thought of Hinata as she exited the academy. Once outside, she Naruto, who appeared to have a thoughtful look on his face. When she got closer, he came out of it and smiled. Hey Hinata, did you notice? Irika-sensei did not fuse at me today. The way he said it like it was some big accomplishment, which for him it was, brought a smile on her face. And Naruto-kun, this morning US said you found your Keika-san. Do why you think I could meet her? She really wanted to meet the mother of her hero/savoir/crush and give her a piece of her mind for leaving Naruto. Whether or not she would actually say anything was unknown, probably not, but she still wanted to see who she was. Naruto adopted his signature fox grin and said, well, I was just on my way over there, I guess I could bring you with me. Hinata smiled. But I will have to blindfold you first, and no Byakugan. Smile fades. Since the failed kidnapping, she never liked to be blind. WY. Please, I want it to be a surprise. Plus the look on your face would be amazing. And Naruto-kun thinks my face is amazing. She thought as she nods yes. Naruto smiled as he produced a cloth and wrapped it around her head. All right, remember no peeping. Hi. He gave a nod to himself as he took his friend's hand, which caused her to blush, and began to lead her forwards. Hinata did not have a clue where she was after the fourth turn. When they had begun their journey to Naruto's mom's house, she had tried to use her mental map of Konoha to try and find the location. All she knows now is that they took it left at an open street near the academy, then took a left in an alley of some sort, then she got lost. So now all she could do was trust her guilt. After what to her seemed like an hour, they finally stopped. Are we there yet, Naruto-kun? Almost just a little longer. She then heard a screeching noise, and a slight tug of her hand told her to go forwards. Was that a gate? Where are we? She thought as she heard what sounded like a gate closing. Okay, you can take off the rag now. Hinata could easily hear the excitement in his voice. Slowly she removed the cloth and blinked her eyes to adjust to the light, and what she saw amazed her. What was in front of her what was unmistakably a clan compound. though by far the smallest she had seen. The main house looked to be about 2 stories high, with 2 smaller ones on its sides, giving it a U shape from the air. In Naruto Keikun, this is compound. Yep, he said with an excited smile. Then that means. She started trying to connect the dots. That I am the heir of the great Uzumaki clan, yep. She was speechless. She guessed that he came from a clan, not that he was the heir of a one. She bet that the elders wouldn't disapprove of her crush on Naruto if they knew. She also thought it strange how if he was a clan heir, she had not heard of an Uzumaki beside Naruto, so that meant he was possible the last one. Anyway, come on. I did not really get a chance to explore the house that much, and my mother said she had letters all around. What to help me look? She nodded as they entered the compound. When she entered, she was greeted with comforting feeling as soon as she entered the door. It was nice change from the cold, depressing atmosphere of the Hyuga household. It also reminded her of how she felt with Naruto, which made her smile. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his cousin. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth, Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Best day ever, she thought, which made her smile even more. They had spent the next 4 hours was spent either exploring the house, which they found. For bedrooms excluding the master that Naruto had slept in the night before, an impressive library that had several books with colorful spine, a kitchen that had a comfy living room attached, a spare bedroom, a study, and a few other, playing/exploring in the backyard/training ground, and looking for the letters that were hidden all over the main house. All over. They even found one under a toilet in one of the bathrooms. Naruto-kun. Yeah, he asked, looking up at her. They were in the living room with her on the couch and him lying on the floor under her. This place is amazing. Yeah, it is. And it is all mine, he thought with a smile. And Naruto-kun. Yeah, she sounded a little nervous this time. Why? He fully turned to this time. Why what? Why have you not known of this place if you are a clan heir? Why do the villagers treat you like they do, and until now you've done nothing about it? Why did we meet like we did? Even though her voice stayed the same, he could see her eyes begin to water as she turned towards him. Naruto-kun, do you not trust me? She asked, not realizing that this was the most she had spoken without stuttering in years. As Naruto looked at her distressed face, he felt a pain in his chest. He did trust her. He trusts her more than anyone in the village, but he was scared of her reaction from the truth. That is why he withheld from telling her, and have it his way he would wait even longer, but this time it was not his way. He sighed and took a calming breath. Hinata, what do you know about Kara the QB? Hinata looked at him in confusion. How was the QB related to her questions? Still confused by the question, she wiped her eyes and tried to remember what was taught at the academy. And not much in Naruto-kun, just that it attacked the village and was killed by the F4th Hokage. What? It's now or never, I guess, because that is a lie. What? But that is what they taught in the academy. How could they lie? What the academy taught was just a cover story. He took a deep breath. You can never permanently kill a biju, but they can be sealed away in people, he said, not looking her in the eye. But what does that? She stopped. His birthday being the day of the attack, the villagers never liking him, and all the demon comments. She gasped. The F4th he sealed it inside of YU, didn't he? Yeah, he did. He spat, though he was happy that she said the Kurama seal inside of him, and not that he was her reincarnation. But why? YU? She was trying to figure it out, but she couldn't. If it had to be a newborn, would it had not been safer to was one maybe a few weeks old, not someone born that day? She looked at Naruto and saw he had a scowl on his face and his body was shaking from rage. And Naruto-kun. Because he said that he could not ask any other parent for something he couldn't do himself. He started to shake as memory after memory of his abuse from the villagers flashed through his mind. Hinata was speechless from what he said, and how she had always heard how noble the fourth was. It was easy for her to connect the dots. Her respect for the late Hokage had severely dropped. He's your father. He's not my father, he shouted at her, all his pent-up anger finally making an appearance. A father is supposed to protect you. A father is to help you. A father is supposed to teach you. not put a fucking demon in you. So he is not my father. Hinata was shocked again. Naruto had never yelled at her before, and the look on his face and the rage in his voice was more than enough to frighten her. When Naruto's anger finally faded, he saw the scared look on his best friend's face and quickly hid his, ashamed by his actions and sending mental curses to the Fouth and the bad villagers him for making him snap like that. But he did feel a lot better now that some of his emotions were let out. After Naruto had calmed down and turned away, Hinata's face turned from a look of fright to a look of understanding. Her friend was angry about many things, but never before had he showed it. What had just happened was not him being angry at her, but the ones who had wronged him. She then tried to think of something to lighten the atmosphere when she saw what resembled an envelope in the library. You see, when Naruto had snapped at her, she had activated her Byakugan on instant and had forgot to deactivate it. In Naruto-kun, I think there is an other L letter in the other Aro room. He looked at her, a bit of shame still in his eye. Really? She nodded. Do why you want to read it in now? He stood up with a small smile and held out his hand to her, which she took with a blush. He was happy to have something to think about to get his mind off the conversation they just had. In Naruto-kun have you meet the KKQ by? He noted as they got to the close library door. Yai Karama. I meet her on the night that we meet, he said before he opened the door and walked in. Hinata froze for a second. Naruto-kun meet the Keikaboi. Wait, he said that the Kyubi was a girl. In Naruto-kun, did you say the K-Kyubi was a G-girl? She called from her spot. Who? Oh yeah, she is. She heard the sound of paper ripping. She isn't as mean and bloodthirsty as the Academy says she is. Scary as hell, though. Blinking a few times, she processed what she had just heard and gave a mental squeal as she continued her list. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the Academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his Kasan. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth, Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Sixth, Naruto-kun is the son of a Kage. Seventh, Naruto-kun finally trusts me with his secret. Eighth, the Kyubi is a girl. Best day ever, she thought as she went into the room. She saw her friend in front of a pile of that contained a pair of white figureless gloves, two headbands that had what she assumed was the Uzumaki crest, and a bunch of smaller letters. She also found the once hidden letter and a note next to it. Moving to his front to get a better view, she gasped at what he was holding. In his hands was a beautiful midnight black katana with a blood-red streak down its back. The 3-foot-long blade ended at an Uzumaki crest guard and handle that was fitted with a black fabric. Taking her eyes away from the sword, she picked up the letters and began to read. Sochi-kun. This is another letter of the scavenger hunt game. Inside are some of the things that I want you to have, and attached to them is a note that tells you what they are. I hope you enjoy them and put them to good use. Ka-san. She took the ones that said sword, gloves, hitayate, and books and began to read. Sochi-kun. This sword was given to me by your grandfather before I left Yuzukigure. It does not have a name, but it has been handed down our family since before the time of the Sage of the Six Paths, so in time it will be yours. I have not used this blade myself because I still have not gotten over my home's genocide, and using anything from there brings me emotional pain. I do hope that if you decide to use it, you will do so with the skill and honor of the Uzumaki. Love. Ka-san. Sochi-kun. These gloves once belonged to my best friend/guardian, Mizu Uzumaki. The gloves have special seals on them that allows them to be used as a weapon. To activate them, just channel chakra into them. But be careful. Mizu had given them to me as a way to remember her. I still miss her. Since these gloves were personally made by her, there is no official style, so they are not in the Kenjutsu books, and you will have to make your own. Good luck. Ka-san. Hinata was a little curious about the gloves. They did not look dangerous. Looking back at Naruto and seeing him busy reading one of the blue-spine books, she carefully put the gloves on and channeled chakra through them. She was shocked when from in between her knuckles 3 11-inch blades that were as white as snow extended faster than she could see. After the shock wore off, she began to carefully examine the blades and do small tests with them, like putting different amounts of chakra into them, which caused them to retract and extend to different lengths, all the while thinking about how they would go perfectly with the gentle fist. Maybe I could ask Naruto-kun if I could have them, no? I couldn't do that. She thought as she retracted the clause and picked up another letter to read, not knowing that her friend had other thoughts. Sochi-kun. Theses headbands are the official Hitaiatesh of Yuzukigure. One of them I took was I when I was young to make playing ninja feel more real, and the other was given to me by my father, the Yuzukage, as a goodbye gift saying that I would always be a shinobi of Yuzukigure. I hope that if you died to wear them, you do so with pride. Love. Ka-san. Sochi-kun. Most of the books in the library are arranged by the color of their spine. Each different color spine represents a different category the book covers, and the larger the book, the more difficult the content is. Green is health and nutrition / training regiment. Blue is ninjutsu. Red is kinjutsu. And yellow is fujitsu. My academy teacher and the Yuzukigure librarian gave them to me as a going-away gift, saying that I needed to learn to use fuinjutsu and other things if I wanted to be a true Uzumaki. I even included a few notes that could help you in them. Read them and become strong. Love. Ka-san. Putting down the last letter, Hinata felt a little sad for her friend. From all the letters they had found, she came to a conclusion. Kushina Uzumaki was a wonderfully kind woman who loved Naruto with all her heart. It was sad that they would never meet. The motherly love feeling she got from the letters reminded her of her own mother. It brought a tear to her eyes. Hinata, are you alright? Naruto asked when he saw the tears. Yes, I'm fine in Naruto-kun, she said, drying her eyes. I was just wishing that I could have met your mother. Naruto gave a small smile, understanding the feeling. Then he noticed the gloves still on her hands and smirked. So Hinata, I take it you like the gloves? Hinata started to feel her face heat up and hurried to take off the gloves. I'm sorry in Naruto-kun, she said, but he just waved it off her concern. Nah, it's all right. I was going to give them to you anyway. Hinata stopped struggling with the gloves and gasped at her friend. And Naruto-kun, I can't do that. These belong to your mother. I can't possible have them. Even though she did want them, she could not take something from her friend's mother whom he just found. But Naruto just shook his head. Technically, they belonged to Mizu-san before my mom, who left them to me, and I am giving them to you, he said with a smile. But Naruto cut her off. Think of it this way. I will be using the sword, eventually, and won't have time to learn a whole new style that is required to use them. They would be put to much better use with you anyway. Plus, the sword was mom's and the gloves were Mizu-san, her best friend. Now the sword is mine and the gloves are yours. And since you're my best friend, I'm just continuing the tradition. Hinata could not find a hole in his logic, but she was still a bit hesitant, something that Naruto picked up on it. Please see Hinata. For me, he said in his best puppy dog, fox kit, face. Hinata was able to last a total of 10 seconds before her resolve fell and brought her gloved hands to her chest, giving a nod. Naruto smiled and did a small victory dance that included jumping in the air at different times. It caused Hinata to laugh siliently. Oh yeah, I forgot something here from last night. I'll be right back, he said as he took a headband and left. Hinata smiled as she went over her mental list again. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his cousin. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth, Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Sixth, Naruto-kun is the son of a Kage. Seventh, Naruto-kun finally trusts me with his secret. Eighth, the Kyuubi is a girl. Ninth, Naruto-kun gave me the gloves as a gift. Best day ever, she thought, and went back to examining her clawed hands. Hey Hinata, what do you think? Came Naruto's voice from behind her. Turning around, her cheeks went red as she took in the new sight of her friend. Standing in front of her was Naruto, sporting a grin with the Yuzukigure headband around his forehead, but what had her blushing was the rest of his appearance. Instead of that horrible kill me orange jumpsuit, he wore a black shirt that had a dark red stripe on his sleeves and down his side, and a pair of black umbu pants. But what surprised her the most was that he had red hair like she'd seen in the pictures of his mother and fell to his forehead. His whisker marks were gone as well. To top it off, his mother's sword was strapped to his back. The more she looked at him and took in his appearance, the redder her face got. Needless to say, she did not disapprove of his new appearance. And Naruto-kun, where? Where did you get those sea clothes? He looked down at himself and gestured to his clothes. What these? She nodded. Well, I've had these for a while, or at least something like them for a while. I just never wore them. Why not? She asked, wanting to know why he always wore that terrible outfit and not this. Well, usually I only wear this when I do a prank around an important ninja building or if there is a really good security system involved. Gave me less of a chance of getting caught. Plus, even if I did get caught, I always wear the jumpsuit, so people would be less likely to suspect me. Hinata was impressed at level of think that went into his pranks and clothing choice. She knew Naruto was much smarter than he let on, and hearing this made her wonder how much he was holding himself back. Don't get me wrong, I like the jumpsuit. It is comfortable, loose, and cheap, but the orange was too much. It did get people to notice me, though, he said sadly before he shook his head and went back to the ninjutsu book. She watched him for a moment. So you won't be wearing the jumpsuit anymore? She asked with a bit of hope in her voice. No, I think I will start wearing this from now on, he said, not looking up from the book, missing Hinata's silent happy dance. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his cousin. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth, Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Sixth, Naruto-kun is the son of a Kage. Seventh, Naruto-kun finally trusts me with his secret. Eighth, the Kyuubi is a girl. Ninth, Naruto-kun gave me the gloves as a gift. 10th, Naruto-kun stopped wearing that kill me orange jumpsuit. Best day ever, she thought happily until she looked at Naruto again and frowned. And Naruto-kun, why is your hair all red and what happened to your whisker M marks? Naruto turned in his seat and had a frown on his face. Hinata, this is how I really look. My faith, the yondaime used an advance hinge on me to change my appearance to look more like him so that people would recognize me as his son. Some failure that plan was, he said, burying his nose back into the book. Hinata was a tiny bit sad that his whisker maker weren't real. They made him look cute, but his new clothes and hair made him look cuter, maybe even hotter. She gave a silent squeal into her hands as her face went red at the thought of using the H word with Naruto. First, Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second, Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third, Naruto-kun found his cousin. Fourth, Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth, Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Sixth, Naruto-kun is the son of a Kage. Seventh, Naruto-kun finally trusts me with his secret. Eighth, the Kyuubi is a girl. Ninth, Naruto-kun gave me the gloves as a gift. 10th, Naruto-kun stopped wearing that kill me orange jumpsuit. 11th, Naruto-kun looks hot. Best day ever. They stayed in the room for another half hour before Hinata remembered that she had stayed far longer than she had planned. They had left the house, making sure no one saw them, and were currently walking through different alleys to get to the Hyuga compound using the light from the moon to see. They were walking in silence until Hinata broke it. And Naruto-kun? Yeah, he asked, looking back at her. Are you going to tell the villagers? Tell them what? That you are the son of the fourth and a clan heir? He stopped and was silent. Hinata moved in front of him to look at his face and saw a different emotion go across it. Joy, anger, relief, fear, hope, and then disappointment before his finally shook his head no. Wyn not. She thought his would scream it from the rooftops that he found his parents and who they were, or at least tell people. Because if the villagers found out about all this, one, if not two things would happen. One, they would all apologize some meaningless apology, suck up to me, spoil me rotted and not recognize me for me, just the son of the fourth. Or they would deny it altogether and take everything I have. Even if they did acknowledge me for who I am, they would probably take everything just in sight of me, he said bitterly. What about the blood seal on the C compound? Only someone related to the On who said it could get in. Hinata countered, hoping that Naruto hadn't given up on villagers, though she had lost a lot of faith in them. They would say something like, the demon has chanced his blood to the yondaimes as an insult, or something stupid like that. No, it would be best if they don't know anything, he said as he formed a hand seal and his appearance returned to blonde hair and whiskers. Hinata opened her mouth to argue but could not form one and closed it as they started walking again. Everything he had said would most likely happen if his parentage was reviled, and she would not have his happiness taken away from him, so she would stay silent. They continued walking before they exited the alley, and Hinata saw her clan's compound up the street. Thank you for walking me home in Naruto-kun, she said as a blush started to form, since walking the female home was what happened in couples. You're welcome. I enjoyed the company. Anyway, see you at the academy tomorrow. Hinata's blush started to get darker, but faded when she remembered what was tomorrow. In Naruto-kun, the exam is tomorrow. We need to work on why your clone so that you can pass. She was confused when instead of being concerned, he just gave a confident smile. Don't worry about that. I have that problem solved. I will pass for sure. She tried to find any deception on him, but she couldn't find any, and his face showed pure confidence. It caused her to smile as her concerns were eased away. The duo fell into a comfortable silence. Well, good Naruto dash. She was cut off when the blonde suddenly threw his arms around her and pulled her into a hug. In Naruto Keikuen. Hinata stuttered out, in Naruto-kun is hugging me. My heart. It is pounding in my chest with him being so close. I feel like it is going to explode. First Naruto-kun stood up the villagers. Second Naruto-kun is serious about the academy. Third Naruto-kun found his cousin. Fourth Naruto-kun did not get in trouble in class today. Fifth Naruto-kun is a clan heir. Sixth Naruto-kun is the son of a Kage. Seventh Naruto-kun finally trusts me with his secret. Eighth the Kyuubi is a girl. Ninth Naruto-kun gave me the gloves as a gift. 10th Naruto-kun stopped wearing that kill me orange jumpsuit. 11th Naruto-kun looks hot. 12th Naruto-kun hugged me. Best day ever, she thought as she subconsciously snuggled deeper into his arm. Thank you for being my best friend, Hinata-chan, he said into her ear before he let the hug go, much to Hinata's disappointment. She looked at him with a happy smile as he gave a mock bow. I bid thy good night, Hugaheim, and disappeared into the darkness of the alley. It was at this time that Hinata's mind caught up to her. He called me Hinata-chan. He finally called me Hinata-chan, she thought with a squeal. After Naruto left his friend, he made his way back to his compound. He thought about the day he's had and his last conversation. He did not know why Did hugged her. All he knew was that he wanted was to let her know how much she meant to him, and words did not seem like they would cut it at the time. She had such a nice scent. He shook his head, clearing his head of that thought, since it would lead his teenage mind to go places his did not want to go. When he got to his compound, he went straight to the library, got the ninjutsu book, and opened to the page he was last on. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Only people for people with large chakra reserves. Naruto read aloud. Better get to work, and started to practice his ace for the exam. After Hinata's little fangirl moment, she walked home with a happy-go-lucky smile on her face. The day had been better and far more emotional than she ever thought possible. She went straight to bed so that nobody would ruin her good mood with a question assault of where she had been and why she was late. As she lied down, she went through her mental list for the last time that night. Hinata woke up from one of the best dreams she had ever had. In the dream, Naruto was a clan heir and had a beautiful home. She got out of her bed and stretched her muscles that were stiff from sleep. To make the dream even better, Naruto had given her a pair of GL. She stopped that line of thought as she looked at her hand and saw the gloves of her dream, nervously sending a stream of chakra to them to test if they were real or just an illusion. She was pleasantly surprised when the 3 white claws appeared and started to shine in the morning light. It wasn't a dream, it was real, she thought as she admired the bladed. She started to slowly go through the motions of the gentle fist, staring at the claws the whole time. The way they moved with her and the potential she saw in them, it made her wonder if the gloves were meant for her. She frowned when she got to the more uncomfortable parts of the form. At those parts of the form, her body just did not move from one step to another and made the claws all the more difficult to use. Oh well, she'd just have to work at it and improve. Hinata-sama, came a voice from the other side of the door. Caught off guard by the sudden noise, she fell on the floor in a somewhat dramatic fashion. Hoping that no one had their eyes activated, she gave a shaky response. Why yes. Hinata-sama Hayasama wanted me to inform you that the academy would be starting soon, the voice said and went away. Eep. Hinata forgot all about the exam she had to take, being completely caught up in her daydream. Now rushing to get ready, she had a quick breakfast and hurried along to the academy, wondering what the new day was going to bring her. Naruto was sitting in his seat in the corner in the class reading a book he had found in his library the night before. Many of the students were already there, but they had not noticed him. They just did their own thing. Some even openly wonder if he would even show up. Naruto had been the first to arrive to the class. He could not believe that by just reading a book and wearing a new change of clothes could turn him invisible to a classroom full of genin hopefuls. So far the ones to have noticed him were Shikamaru and Shino. The former felt that it would be too troublesome to make an announcement of the blonde's change, while the latter could not find a logical reason to care about someone else's business. Naruto was reading a beginner's book on Fuinjutsu. He had figured that if the Uzumaki were masters in the art, then he would give it a shot, even though it was said to be one for the hardest things to learn. He did not know why, though. So far, everything he has read had made sense. He was so absorbed in his book that he hardly notices the presence of Hinata sitting by his side until she said her greeting. Huh, did you say something, Hinata-chan? Elsewhere in Konoha. Achoo. Someone just stole my line. I hope it is a pretty girl. Now where was I? Thought a masked man as he found his place in his book. Oh, Azumi-chan, you naughty girl. Hinata blushed as memories of when Naruto had hugged her while calling her that last night replayed in her mind. Gee, good morning, Naruto Keikun, she said, as she looked him over. He was wearing the same cloths he wore the other night, but added a jacket that matched his outfit that he left unzipped. He had a regular-looking sword strapped around his back that could never be compared to his mother's. She guessed he wasn't going to show it in public like he said he wouldn't. Also, his hair was his spiky blonde and not the red she saw last night, much to her disappointment. She would have never thought that she would prefer a color over the blonde, but the red looked so much better on him. Shaking her head to rid herself of the blush that appeared on her face, she looked back at the object of her affection to see his nose in a book. Naruto Keikun, what are you reading? It must have taken a while for the sentence to reach him because it took him a moment to acknowledge, to question, and respond. Oh yeah, this is a book I found on Fuinjutsu. And while I thought since I am who I am, I figured I'd give it a shoot. It is really easy to. I don't see how it is one of the hardest things for a shinobi to learn. I find it quite simple so far, he said, showing the book to Hinata. Hinata looked at the book and was utterly confused at first glance. It was full of weird shapes and symbols that made no sense to her. Having to learn symbols that did one thing, doing the same one only a tad different, causing something like death or injury, was not something that Hinata felt like doing. So she just shook her head and handed the book back. When Naruto had given the book to Hinata, she looked completely lost, which confused him. The book seemed easy enough to read and understand, but if Hinata's reaction was anything to go by, then he guessed not. Oh well, must be an Uzumaki thing, he thought with a shrug as he got his book back. And Naruto-kun. Yes, Hinata-chan, he said as he turned the page in his book. Did you manage to make a clone? Don't worry, Hinata-chan, he said, giving her a confident smile. I will pass for sure. She averted her eyes with a small blush on her face at being called Chan again. She still was not used to hearing her name with the suffix, but she loved it all the same. She looked at his face and felt warmth spread throughout her body. Naruto's confidence and smile were having a positive effect on her. She knew that because her stuttering was going down. Just his smile alone was enough to make her want to believe in him, so like all the other time before she would. She let the conversation drop as she started to focus on her techniques to pass the exam, noting that he had not answered her question. The two fell into a comfortable silence as they concentrated on their respective task, oblivious to the world around them. It was nice until, I won, Ino Pig. You will never beat me when it comes to gaining Sasuke-kun's love. Yeah, right, forehead. You only won because that giant billboard of yours blocked my path. Naruto gave a sigh as he heard Sasuke's biggest fangirls argue. I mean, come on. It was like this every morning, and it was not like it would get the boys' attention anyway. He brought his book down just below his eyes to see what they were doing now, only to see them fighting over the last seat that was next to him. Giving another disappointed sigh, he continued to read about the theory behind the possibility of storage scrolls. A collective gasp that sounded throughout the class brought Naruto from his book again, only for him to go wide-eyed like the rest of the class. Moments ago, after Ino and Sakura were done pulling each other's hair and whatnot, they had chased each other around the class. As they were running, they bumped into a civilian girl who was one of the only other non-fangirls in the class. As she was falling, she had rotated her body to brace herself for the impact of the ground. Instead of hitting the ground, she fell on top of an unsuspecting Sasuke, lips locked. The entire class was silent as the two kissed, completely frozen, for at least 10 seconds before Sasuke suddenly ended it and started coughing and muttering under his breath. The girl, on the other hand, had not moved from her position. All emotions and facial expressions were gone from her face, until she let out a girlish sequel that was so high-pitched, it almost shattered all the glass in the immediate area. It was at this time that all real kunoichi in the elemental nations felt a feeling of loss and anger. Every one of them, from the old and retired to the ones in the middle of some fierce battle for their lives. All of them stopped what they were doing and bowed their heads, mourning the loss of one of their own, to the mostly incurable disease that made their most hated foes, fangirls. After Naruto had regained his hearing, he looked to see that Sakura, Ino, and the entire Sasuke fan club were chasing the bragging civilian girl for stealing their Sasuke-kun's first kiss. Having enough, he looked at Hinata, who had a cloud of depression above her head. A sweat drop appeared on the back of Naruto's head as he looked at his friend's current state. He knew she did not get this way over Sasuke's kiss, because they were not exactly friends, so he had no clue what she was upset about. Filing it as girl problems he couldn't possibly understand in his mind. He gave a small cough to wake Hinata from her state of mind and continued to read his book. Unfortunately, his cough was not small enough, as it attracted the attention of the pink menace. Sakura. Turning her head to where she heard a cough, Sakura saw a cute-looking boy sitting next to Hinata. Said boy was wearing black pants and a black and red shirt with a matching jacket that was left open. Those clothes looked good on him, but not as good as Sasuke-kun, she thought as she took in the rest of the appearance of the new boy. Blonde hair, pretty blue eye, and whisker marks. Wait, whisker marks. That's Naruto, she thought as her anger increased. How dare he dress like that, trying to take my attention from her, Sasuke-kun. Naruto could hear the girl's approach and lowered his book to see Sakura with her hands on her hips and a scowl on her face. His eyes then eyed the rest of the class, whose attention was on the two of them, wanting to see what would happen. May I help you? He asked, his eyes returning to his book. He could have sworn he saw a tick mark appear on her head. Naruto, you baka, what do you think you're doing? He said nothing for a long time before he slowly turned the page in his book. He could feel Sakura's irritation increase, and it made him smile. This could be fun. I am reading a book? Wait, you can read? She asked in mock surprise. The rest of the class laughed at the jab at his intelligence. Obviously, he said in a bored tone, not looking up from his book. Why do you have a sword, and why have you not given it to Sasuke-kun? I would never give Sasuke my sword. In fact, I thought for sure that he was going to use his own sword on his own teammates until that stunt from before. But I still keep my sword away from him. There is no telling what he would do with it, he said with a straight face, trying not to laugh. A/N, if you don't get this, then good for you. The entire class was quiet, thinking of his words, wondering why he was implying that Sasuke would turn traitor if he gave him his sword. All was quiet until Kiba fell onto the floor, crack up laughing. The class looked at him, wondering what he was laughing at. The sound of a head hitting a desk turned the class's attention to Shikamaru, who muttering something about troublesome blondes. Angered that she could not understand the baka's words when the class mutt and lazy ass could, she settled a glare at the blonde. Why are you even here anyway? We all know that you're such a failure of a ninja that you can't even make a simple clone, so what hope do you have of passing? You should just go home now and save yourself the embarrassment. Hinata, who was sitting quietly, couldn't take the girl insulting her friend like she had been. She had been gathering up her small courage and was about to stand up for Naruto when she saw him slowly shaking his head. Confused, she saw amusement and a hint of mischief in his eyes. That, along with his smile that was still on his face, was enough to want to see what he was going to go. Is that right? He said, finally turning to face her with a dangerous smile. Yeah, it is. Okay, then how about a bet? Sakura had been expecting him to protest, to scream to the heavens that he would be the Hokage or something like. Not this. Bet. Yeah, bet. He said, taking a thinking pose. I bet that I passed the ninjutsu part of the exam. No, scratch that. I bet that I will score the highest in the ninjutsu portion of the exam. That means that I will do better than everyone, including Sasuke, he said with a smirk. The class instantly started to whisper amongst themselves at the new development. Naruto Uzumaki, the dead last of the class, just said that he was going to do the 3 required jutsu better than Sasuke Uchiha, the guaranteed rookie of the years, when his could not even do one of them. Sakura was silent. She was having an inner conversation about what to do. Why are you hesitating? This idiot just said that he was going to do better than our Sasuke-kun. Punishment must be dealt. Cha! Inner Sakura said as she hammered an outline of Naruto. I don't know. What? You think that this nobody is better than our Sasuke-kun? What? No. Sakura thought, trying to defend her actions. It is just... She looks at Naruto's smirking face. That look he has. It's like he thinks he can do it. So what? That baka thinks he can do anything. We all know that our Sasuke-kun's the best ever. Cha. Naruto, who was unaware of the inner conversation in the girl's head, could see the indecision on her face, and his smirk grew. Oh no, Sakura, how could you? He said in mock surprise. How could you claim to Sasuke's #1 girl if you think he can be beat by the dope of the class? Sakura could feel her anger from before rising. How dare him? How dare he question her love and commitment to her Sasuke-kun? Of course I know Sasuke-kun will beat you. He is an Uchiha, an elite. You're just some clan-less nobody who can't even compare to him. She screeched, shaking her fist threateningly at him. Naruto quickly pushed down his anger about her comment about his clan and resisted to use her last sentence back at her. Instead, he just kept his smirk. So you accept? Of course I acc. Before you agree, how about I make it more interesting, he said, cutting off her annoying screeches. Sakura was a little pissed he interrupted her, but that was replaced by curiosity. How? Naruto's smirk vanished as he took a mock thinking pose. How about if I win and score the best in ninjutsu? Then you can't talk to me for 1 week. No, you can't talk to any boy for a week. Including Sasuke, he added as an afterthought. Hey, he may think of him as an arrogant prick with a stick up his ass, but no one should have to endure Sakura's screeches 24/7. And this way no one could say he never did a nice thing for the Uchiha. And when I win, she said after considering it. Naruto's face spread into a fox-like grin. Then I will tell you one Sasuke's biggest secrets. A secret that has only 3 certain letters. The class, who had been quiet during the conversation, started to whisper again. How did the class dobe know one of Sasuke's secrets if he told no one anything? Some of the students looked in Sasuke's direction to see nothing about him had changed, except that his eyes were wide and there was sweat on his brow. How does he know about that? He can't know about that, could he? Yeah, that is, he doesn't know. He's bluffing, but he said 3 letters. So he does know. Sasuke thought as he whipped his head around, looking at Naruto with desperation in his eyes. Naruto was laughing on the inside as he looked at the normally stoic face that belonged to the Uchiha. Yes, he knew about the CRA, or Clan Restoration Act. It was a law that said if a clan's numbers were near extinction, then a clan male had to take multiple wives to restore the clan. He found out about it when he opened one of his mother's letters. She had written in great detail about what the program was and how it could be applied to him, even a loophole that could get him out of it if it was forced on him. She also said that if he truly loved the girls and they loved him, then he had her blessing. But if it was anything less, then she would find a way to revive herself, torture, and kill him repeatedly. Even if it was in a letter and his mother was sadly dead, the threat seemed all too real to him. Not that he was going to tempt her. Sakura had turned her back to Naruto and had taken what she thought was a cute thinking pose. As she weighed the pros and cons of the bet, these were her main thoughts. If the dobe, by some miracle, won, then she would not be able to talk to any boys for an entire week. This would allow the other hussies to make a move on her, Sasuke-kun. Not that they had a chance, though. But if she had more time to make plans for Sasuke, go over details, and to make a foolproof plan, then it might not be so bad if she lost. But when she won, Naruto would have to tell her one of Sasuke-kun's secrets, and by the looks of his reaction, it was a big one. And if she knew his secret, then he would want her to tell him one of her secrets, which she would. And then he would feel more comfortable around her, and in time, he would tell her another secret. Then she would tell him one of hers, and so on, until he realizes that they have told everything about each other and that they are perfect for one another. Then he would ask her to marry him, and she would say yes. Then, her face turned red, and she let out a schoolgirl squeal as she thought about what they would do after the wedding. Deciding that the squeal was a sign that she'd made up her mind, Naruto broke her out of her thoughts. "So, is it a bet?" His grin in place. Breaking out of her argument with her inner self about what to name their children after becoming Mrs. Uchiha, she looked at his hand before shaking it with a little to much enthusiasm. "Yeah, it's a bet. You better prepare to lose because No1 can beat Sasuke Kun," she screeched, then looked over at a horrified Sasuke and gave what she thought was a sexy wink. Sasuke gave a shudder as turned to the blank board and gave it a death glare. As he thought of the situation he was in, he was conflicted. On one hand, when he beat the dobe, he would once again prove that he was the best, and that would cause Naruto to lose his stupid bet. But if Naruto lose, he gave a shudder. Then he would tell his #1 fangirl about the CRA, who would then screech it to the heavens. If they found out about that, then his fangirl would stop focusing one competing against each other. They would focus all the attention on him. And that could not happen. But if Naruto won the bet, then the Banshee would leave him alone for an entire week. That idea was very tempting, but for that to happen, Naruto would have to win his bet, and he, the Uchiha elite, would have to be second in something, and his pride would not stand for that. So either way, he lost. Not willing to continue thinking about it, he began thinking of all the way to kill his brother and torturing a blonde. It was at this time that Iruka and Mizuki came into the room. They both were surprised by Naruto's new outfit and that sword on his back, but did not think anything of it. As they walked to the desk, they picked different parts of conversations, mostly concerning something about Naruto making a bet with Sakura and who they thought was going to win. Once they both got ready for the day, Iruka tried to calm the class. "All right, class," he said, but was ignored. "Class," again he was ignored. "It is time to be quiet now." No one seemed to hear him, or they just did not care. Naruto, Hinata, and Shikamaru all covered their ears because they knew what would happen next. "Shut the fuck up and sit your asses down," he yelled, activating his big head jutsu. Instantly, everyone in the room was in their seats and quietly waiting for instructions. "Thank you," he said with a kind smile. "Now, as you all know, today is the day you take your Genin exams, so you can become a shinobi of Konoha." All the Genin were excited to, hopefully, become official ninja, and because they caught a hidden meaning in Iruka's words, they didn't have to stay in the academy any longer. "Now," Iruka continued, "your test will be divided into 4 different parts: the written exam, taijutsu, accuracy, and ninjutsu. The taijutsu exam will be a spar between students that will take place after the accuracy exam, and the ninjutsu, or over the 3 required jutsu, will be held after that. Now we will begin the written exam," he said, looking around the room. "Any questions?" No one put their hand up. They were all too excited to take the exam to want to delay it any longer than necessary. Nodding in satisfaction, Iruka and Mizuki started to pass out papers. "You will have 105 minutes to complete your exam. You can turn it in whenever you finish, though. You may begin as soon as you get your test," he said, laying down the papers. When Mizuki got to Naruto, though, he released his paper in the air, causing it to catch air and float to the front of the class. Mizuki had been expecting him to have an outburst saying something like how he purposely did that and demand him to pick it up for him. If he did, then him could dock points off of Naruto's score for disrupting the class. But no, all he got was an annoyed huff as Naruto went to get his test, causing Mizuki to frown and finish passing out papers, then return to his desk to sleep. When Naruto got back to his seat and looked at the questions on his test, he knew something was up. All of his questions had to be at least Jounin level, none of which should be on a Genin test. The question's wording was also so complex that he could not even read one sentence without being confused. Now, this has happened before on his test and quizzes, him not understanding the test because it was overly hard, but all those times he had not really cared. But this time was different. Looking at the sleeping form of Mizuki, he wondered if he had switched his test with a harder one. He would not put it past him to do that. It was no secret that Mizuki hated the last Uzumaki. The paper stunt was proof of that. But after thinking about it, he didn't think his test was switched. For one, he had seen Irika pull out the exam pile and handed a section of it to Mizuki, and he knew Irika did not hate him anymore. He was not overly nice to him either. Instead, he was treated like everyone else. Nothing more, nothing less, and he was okay with that. So that meant that his test was tampered with. After checking that the Irika and Mizuki weren't looking, the former feverishly grading papers, the latter still asleep, he lightly tapped Hinata to get her attention. Hinata has been having an interesting day. She had witnessed everything that had happened in the class thus far along with everyone else. After watching how Naruto had handled all the taunts and insults, she had realized that she still was not strong enough. If she had been the one that everyone made fun of, then Naruto would not hesitate to defend her, and yet she did. Why did she? Granted, he had asked her not to because the whole thing with the bet, which she knew he was going to win, but that did not excuse her behavior for all the time before. She gave a sad sigh and started to berate herself again when Mizuki had his paper go to the class. At least he was not using his happy-go-lucky mask. The test so far had been easy enough, with only a fourth of it being difficult. She was about to answer another question when she felt something bump into her leg. At first she had thought it was an accident, but he kept on doing it. Looking up from her test, she looked at her friend, wonder what he could want in the middle of such an important test. Surely he did not want to cheat off her? Her sight fears were put to rest when, instead of looking at her test, Naruto was looking at her, making her blush a little bit. He then pointed at her, then his eyes, then back to her, and finally his test. This confused her until she realized that for some reason he wanted her to use her Byakugan on his test. Curious, she did as he wanted. Her eyes activated. She immediately saw what was wrong. Her eyes could see all chakra, whether it is inside a person or be used in a jutsu, and she saw what appeared to be a layer of chakra on the paper. But why was it there? She knew that Naruto did not cause it. His chakra control was not good enough to perform the feat, so who did it? Gasping, she turned to Mizuki, and she saw the satisfied smirk on his sleeping face and frowned. Naruto saw Hinata's look of confusion, and that had confirmed his suspicion. Placing his finger on the paper, he channeled as little chakra into it as he could. Moments after he did this, the illusion on his paper faded away, revealing the true Genin exam. Giving a smile to his friend and mouthing a thank you, he started his test, and the first of the 4 exams. Naruto and the others exited the academy and had entered the training area in the back of the school. The second and third portion of the exam would be held here. The written had gone good enough. After the Jinjutsu was disabled, Naruto had gone through the test at a moderate pace. The questions were easy, with only a few giving him trouble, though he knew for a fact that he did not ace it, but he did do enough to pass. He just wished he paid more attention to Irika's boring lectures. The second part of the exam had focused on accuracy with kunai and shurikens. It was really straightforward. 10 kunai and shurikens, each with 10 targets. The closer you get to the center, the better you did. As always, Sasuke did the best, hitting the center with all 20 projectiles, but the class was surprised when Naruto took the second spot. He'd hit the center of all the targets, but the last 3 did not stick. The class had laughed at him, saying stuff like his arm was too weak to throw 20 things in a row, or that his luck had run out. But in reality, the weapons were just too dull to do anything with. Naruto had a smile on his face as he walked to the sparring area. He had done better than he thought he would in the last test. Throughout his entire time in the academy, he had purposely avoided hitting the center target when it was his turn to practice his accuracy. This time, he tried to hit the center, and he did. Now that he thought about it, he guessed he had been hitting his target for a while now, which was anywhere but the assigned one. His musings were cut short when Irika began to speak. "All right, class," Irika said, getting everyone's attention. "We are about to begin the taijutsu part of the exam. The rules are simple. Each spar will last for 5 minutes, or until one of the participants scores 5 points or is unable to continue sparring. A solid punch is worth 1 point, a kick is 2, and a kick to the head is 3. Okay, any question?" Irika-sensei? "Yes, Sakura?" "What would happen if the time runs out, but no one has 5 points? Did I not just answer this? Then the spar is over with no official winner." "Oh, okay," she said with an understanding smile. Irika nodded, then took out a clipboard and looked at the paper on it. The opponents have already been decided, so if no one has any more questions. He looked around and called out the first name since no one asked him anything. Shikamaru Nara versus Choji Akamichi. Naruto was bored as he waited for his turn to fight. So far, all of the fights had either been one-sided or had as much excitement as a toddler's brawl. Most of the clan heirs had already gone. They had faced an opponent that they had beat in 2 to 3 hit, so theirs was less than entertaining. The only heirs that hasn't fought yet were Uchiha Sasuke versus Uzumaki Naruto, called Irika. Damn it, speak of the devil. Unstrapping his sword and giving it to Hinata, who wished him luck, Naruto made his way to his spot in front of Sasuke. Along the way, ignoring all the shouts and insults thrown his way by Sasuke's pink banshee and her army of howler monkeys, I mean Sakura and the fangirls. Fighters ready? Irika asked. Why don't you just quit now, dobe, and save yourself the embarrassment of losing to an elite like every dobe should? Sasuke said with an arrogant smirk as he slid into the intercept fist stance, the fighting style of almost all Uchihas. Yeah, you tell him Sasuke-kun. You should listen to Sasuke-kun Baka and give up. There is no way a loser like you could ever beat Sasuke-kun. Naruto ignored all this as he into a stance that no one recognized instead of just throwing his fist up like he normally did. Hey, why is the Baka standing like that? Came the voice of a fangirl. I don't know, but it looks stupid, answered another. Naruto Baka, why are you in a stance like Sasuke-kun? You should stop trying to copy him. It's wrong. And you will never be as cool as Sasuke-kun, so stop trying. Screeched Sasuke's pink banshee known as Sakura. Naruto felt angry about how his clan's stance was called stupid, but let go. The insult was coming from the mouth of a fangirl, so her opinion did not mean anything. The night before, when he was working on his cloning jutsu, he had come across the Uzumaki Taijutsu style and had memorized a stance to one of its forms. Though that was all he knew, so he would have to wing it in the fight. He was tempted to mention that the Uchiha clan was known for copying and stealing jutsu, though. It was amusing to think the Sasuke team's #1 fangirl had just insulted him. Irika studies Naruto's stance while the students were trash-talking each other. It was one he did not recognize. As he picked it apart, he saw that with the positioning of his hands and feet, Naruto had set himself up for whatever came at him. He could attack, defend, or dodge if he had to. He wondered where Naruto found it. Seeing that everyone was ready to begin, Irika began the fight. Hajime. Sasuke, wanting to end the fight quickly, charged at Naruto with his arm pulled back. Naruto was confused. Either he was used to Sasuke's way of fighting over the years, or he had a natural ability to fight that he never knew he had because he never tried. Either way, as soon as Sasuke started to move, he knew what was coming. Waiting until the last moment when the fist was going to connect with his person, Naruto deflected it with his hand. Sasuke, unable to stop his momentum, kept going until he had missed the blonde completely and was now behind him. Angered that his attack missed, he turned to face the blonde again, only for a pain to erupt from his stomach. Naruto had rotated body and saw Sasuke's unguarded body. He raised his leg, letting the rotation of his body put power behind it. He could see the anger in his eyes turn to shock when his foot found Sasuke's flesh, causing him to drop to the ground, cradling his stomach. Taking advantage of Sasuke's down form, Naruto put some distance between them and started to take slowing breaths, trying to calm his racing heart and excited mind. He had done something today. He had gotten a hit on Sasuke. No one had ever done that, and it felt good. He should have really started trying a long time ago. Once he was calm, he again slid into his family stance. Just because his only know the stance didn't mean he did not study the scroll. The Uzumaki's fighting style revolved around taking an advantage of opening in the opponent. It was so made to fit every individual person since everyone is different. If the person was more of an offensive, defensive, or both, the user can adopt the style for their own. What made it better was that only an Uzumaki could learn the style. The style's movements were dangerous to the human body, tearing muscles slightly or breaking bones. The style could be very damaging to a person. The Uzumaki were ability to negate these effects because every Uzumaki has a healing factor that heals the small injuries before they can cause a problem. The style that Naruto was looking into was a combination of offense and defense. Blocking and dodging when needed, he would try to anger an opponent by not allowing a hit, which would cause them to make an open he could exploit. Or he could attack. He planned on using his unpredictableness along with his family's ways to create something amazing. But that was in the future. For now, all he could really do was try to defend and make his opponent mess up. And he had a way to accomplish this. "Sasuke, are you okay?" he asked in a mock concerned voice. "You look like you're in pain. And the way you hold your stomach. Did you eat something bad? If you're not feeling well, then I could wait until you feel better. Is that okay?" Naruto's words broke the class out of their shock that he of all people was able to kick Sasuke, something his fangirls did not like. "How dare you hurt Sasuke Kun? You're a coward, fighting Saki-kun when he is not feeling well. YH, you must have cheated and given Sasuke-kun something to make him feel bad." "Yeah, a good kick to the gut is what I gave him," thought Naruto. "Yeah, you cheater. There is no way a loser like you could ever do that to Sasuke Kun. He must be sick." "Shut up. I am not sick," Sasuke said as he stood up, glaring at Naruto. "Wait, you're not sick?" he asked in a confusion. Then he smiled. "Then that means that I, the dead last, just got 2 points on the Uchiha Elite within the first 5 seconds when he was perfectly fine." He made an arrogant smirk when Sasuke gritted his teeth and charged in again, though more carefully this time. Sasuke was speechless and angry at the same time. This clan-less nobody had gotten 2 points on him and Uchiha Elite. And to make it worse, the dobe even got him to admit that he was not capable of stopping him when it happened. This could not go unpunished. Now Sasuke was even madder. Every kick was dodged, every knee was blocked, and every punch he threw was deflected. He had that arrogant smirk on his face like he was not even trying, and worst, he would not shut the hell up. "Sasuke, if you are an elite and I beating you, does that mean that the dead last is better than the elite?" "Shut up," he yelled, finally kicking the annoying blonde in the chest, but not before receiving a punch to his. Both staggers back and rubbed their respective chest, though the Naruto still had his smirk. "Wow, Sasuke, I'm honored." "What are you talking about, loser?" Sasuke said, though gritted teeth as he got back in his stance. "Sasuke, if I am a loser, what does that make you, Mr. Uchiha Elite?" He ignored his reddening face as he continued. "Anyway, I was thinking how you decided to follow my lead." "What are yo dash?" "That kick to the body," he said, cutting him off. "I did the same thing at the beginning of the fight. Sasuke, are you trying to be like me to get my attention?" Sasuke was shaking with rage at this point. "Just one more push," Naruto thought with a smirk. "As much as I appreciate the jester, I'd rather not go with a teammate." "How dare he? This clanless loser makes a fool out of me. I am an Uchiha Elite. This nobody should be bowing at my feet." Sasuke was about to charge in again when Naruto's words caught him. Couldn't teammate be used to mean those of the same gender? He had also said that if I had a sword, then I would use it on my teammate. Did he mean same gender? If he did, that meant sword meant. "You bastard. Naruto, you are so dead," Sasuke yelled, charging at Naruto, fully intending on causing his body harm. "Looks like you figured out what I said earlier. Took him long enough," he thought, ducking under a kick to the head. The entire class was amazed as they watched the fight take place. No one had ever lasted this long against Sasuke. The fangirls were cheering on Sasuke like there was no tomorrow. Most of the boys were just watching the fight, not caring who won. Hinata was praying for Naruto's safety, and Kiba was on the ground again laughing at Naruto's comment that Sasuke was gay. Naruto took a breath. Mizuki had counted Sasuke 2 points for a kick that didn't even touch him, just his jacket. Naruto then caught a foot that tried to find his chest once again. Looking at his foe, he said in a serious face, "I'd like to thank Yusaki. Because of you, I now see where I stand compared to an Uchiha." "Shut up," he yelled, lifting his body with the foot Naruto held and brought his free one to the blonde's face. "Time." Wham! Hinata gasped and turned the downed form of her friend. "Yes, Sasuke-kun did it. Of course he did it. There is no way my Sasuke-kun would lose to someone like Naruto Baka." "What do you mean your Sasuke-kun billboard?" "What I said, pig. Sasuke-kun is mine." "No, he's mine." "Mine. Mine. Mine. Please shut up, you two." Sasuke thought as he glared in Naruto's direction, panting. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked with concern, helping the blonde up. Grateful for the help, Naruto sent a tired smile towards his friend. Well, besides the stinking in my chest, the bruising that I'm sure to have, and pain in my face, and the ringing in my ear, I'm fine. Hinata smiled at the attitude of her friend. He lost the fight, and he was still smiling. She had helped Naruto to his feet, but he swayed a little before falling. But Hinata caught him before he could hit the ground. Laughing weakly at the situation he was in, he turned his head to the now blushing Hinata. Hinata-chan, could you help me to my desk? I don't think I can stand on my own. He asked, causing her face to go from slight pink to dark red, but she nodded nonetheless. They were about to go when Naruto shifted his eyes to the Uchiha and saw that he was breathing deeply and had his trademark smirk on his face. Stopping, the two boys just stared at each other, causing everyone else to go silent, waiting to see what will happen. Sasuke, though, figured that it was finally time to get the attention he deserved. How does it feel? He asked, his breathing finally calming down. How does what feel, Sasuke? To get beat by an Uchiha like the loser you are, he said. Naruto grew a confused look. Beat me? Sasuke, you did not beat me. What are you talking about, Dobe? Of course I did. Now it was Naruto's turn to smirk. No, you didn't. Time ran out before your kick landed. So officially that match was a draw. Sasuke-kun beat you, so just accept your lose, Baka. Naruto ignored the girl as he let out a sigh. Just like an Uchiha, claiming something for yourself that you don't deserve. With that said, he and Hinata walked back to the academy, well limped and carried, leaving behind a seething Sasuke. Sasuke was beyond mad. He had always been the best at everything, but he took pride in his ability to fight. Now his pride and reputation of being the best was stained because the dead last had humiliated him in his element. Uchiha prodigies don't come like they used to, any Hinata-chan? That's it. Sasuke thought, and was about to attack the blonde, but a hand grasped his shoulder that belonged to Irika. Not wanting to challenge the stern look on his face, he slowly, very slowly, let go of his anger and wounded pride. Instead, he decided on focusing on the ninjutsu exam, where he was determined to beat Naruto and not let him humiliate him any farther, temporarily forgetting what it meant if Naruto lost the bet. Ouch! Hinata-chan, I'm still sour there. And Nanny, she asked, wondering what she did to cause her crush pain. You just elbowed my bruised rib. Hinata blushed and turned her head away from Naruto's. Had she really done that? She had thought about doing it, but doing so would be so not like her, so she settled for just think it, or so she thought. Stop being so mean to Sasuke-san. Huh. Some of the things why you said to him in the spar were kind of mean, Naruto-kun. There is no need to make him any angrier. He looked at her, and she turned her head and stared back, neither wanting to back down. Naruto, because he finally got to say all of the things he had wanted to tell Sasuke team. And Hinata, because even though she held no love for the Uchiha, her caring nature did not want Naruto to be mean to him, so she kept up her stare. They kept it up until they both got back to their seats, until Hinata got a glint of irritation in her eyes, and Naruto knew he was not going to win. Banging his head on the desk, Hinata heard him mumble out, "Fine, I will stop being an asshole to the asshole." Hinata smiled and gave a silent squeal of joy. She had done it. She had stood up for what she believed in. Now all she had to do was do just that to the Hyuga elders. Kemi help her. Losing the confidence boost she had gained, she cast her eyes down to the desk in front of her and started to nervously poke her fingertips together, speaking in her small voice. In Naruto-kikun, could why you also be in nice if, when you win your BB bet? Hearing that his friend went back to her stuttering, nervous self, he let out a fake groan. Fine, if Hyugaheim so wishes it, then I shall do. So I will not brag about my win over the mighty Uchiha. Hinata smiled, and the two of them waited in silence for the rest of the class filed in the room to their seats. Now class, Irika said, the ninjutsu exam will begin. When you hear your name called, you will go to the back room where you will do the 3 jutsu we tell you to perform. Once your test is over, go into the other classroom. If do not manage to pass, then you are to go home, and I will see you next year if you still desire to become a ninja. So until your name is called, behave. Now Ayumu Aya, come here. This is going to be a long wait, Naruto thought as he watched the two teachers and student disappear. Naruto Uzumaki. Finally, Naruto thought when he finally heard his name and went to the room his final test was in. He had had to wait as one by one the students went to take their exam, and it had been so boring just sitting and waiting after Hinata had left. They had wished each other luck. He would have been reading his Fuinjutsu book, but it had advised him not to continue reading until he was proficient at creating a seal it showed, and he do not have the supplies on hand to work. And you can only read something so many times before you no longer want to read it. He had also fallen asleep a few times, but some asshole always woke him up with a paper ball to the face. When Sasuke was called, they had shared a glare with each other, and that had been the most interesting thing that has happened. Now, though it was his time to shine and show that Sasuke did not have the title of best in everything. Entering the room, he saw both Iruka and Mizuki in front of a desk that had several leaf headbands that had different straps. Walking in front of the desk, he was greeted by an encouraging smile from Iruka and a glare from Mizuki. "All right, Naruto, this is your last exam. Are you ready?" he asked and received a nod. "Good. The first jutsu you will perform is the Kourimi, body replacement jutsu on anything in the room to avoid this kunai," he said, raising a wooden kunai. Getting the okay from his blonde student, Iruka threw the kunai at him with Chunin-level speed. Poof. Ouch. Clank. Iruka was confused. He was sure that the jutsu had been successful, but this cry of pain told him otherwise. The thing was that the voice that came from the smoke was not that of Naruto's, but of someone older. As the smoke cleared, he saw Mizuki holding an area in of his stomach in pain, with the fake kunai in hand, glaring daggers at the spot next to Iruka. Though he is not considered a genius, it did not take him long to figure out what happened. Sighing, he turned and saw Naruto in Mizuki's previous spot, grinning in amusement at said person. Pinching the bridge of his nose, Iruka sighed. "That was good, Naruto. Now could you go back to your spot and perform a hinge transformation?" Nodding, Naruto went back to spot in front of the desk, thanking Mizuki for switching places with him for his last jutsu, increasing Mizuki's anger, and went up in a puff of smoke. Standing in his place was another Iruka who was giving his smile of confidence, walking up to his doppelganger with an impressed look on his face. Not bad, Naruto. I see that you've been practicing," he said, getting a nod. "Good, you can cancel the jutsu now." "Hi, Iruka-sensei," Naruto said as he canceled the technique. "You know, Naruto, I half thought that you would use that hinge you dubbed as your sexy jutsu. Well, I was going to, but I decided against it. Why are you disappointed that I did not do it? I could still show you." "And no," Iruka yelled, but saw a smirking Naruto and coughed into his hand. "No, that will not be necessary. Just make a clone and you will be finished." Iruka, what is a clone? You expect to become a ninja, but you don't even know what a clone is? We should fail you right now if that is the case," Mizuki said, and was about to go through with this. "That is not what I meant, Mizuki-sensei. I mean, what would you define a clone as?" Iruka took a thoughtful look. A clone is a perfect replica of a person's body and could take the place of said person of a certain period of time. "Why do you ask?" Naruto took a sigh of relief. "No reason. I just wanted to be sure that I could do this." "Do what?" Naruto smirked and formed the T-seal he had learned the night before. "Shadow clone jutsu," he said. 5 columns of smoke erupted from besides Naruto, and once they cleared, a total of 6 Narutos stood before the speechless Iruka and Mizuki. "Dang it, I wanted to make 2 clone, not 5. Oh well, looks like I need more practice," he thought. "And Naruto, where did you learn that?" Iruka stuttered. He and Mizuki walked towards the clone and felt them confirming their suspicion that they were real clones and not the normal illusion ones. "Can't tell you, Iruka-sensei. A ninja must keep his secrets a secret," he said, thankful that Iruka was too distracted to care about his answer. "Well, did I pass?" "No, you fail," Mizuki said, making Naruto frown. "What?" "Well, you see, Naruto, you were told to make a clone, but you have make a shadow clone, so you fail," he said with a sick smile. "If that is reason, then I'm afraid that I pass." "What?" "Well, you see, Mizuki-sensei, as stated by Iruka-sensei earlier, a clone is a perfect replica of a person's body and could take the place of said person of a certain period of time. Naruto had a grin on his face as he saw Mizuki's face go red. So by that definition, he looks at one of his clone before looking back. My shadow clones are in fact clones. He looked at Mizuki to find him shaking with rage, and Irika looked to be thinking about something. Damn it, Kami damn the little demon. I was going to have him steal the forbidden scroll for Orochimaru-sama as a way to prove my loyalty to him, but the brat needed to fail. Damn you, Irika. Sigh. Okay, I can still do this. I just need to get my hands dirty. That is what I said, isn't it? Mizuki stopped thinking when he heard his fellow teacher say that, and turned to idiot smiling at the demon. And as you said, there is no reason you fail, so congratulations, Naruto, Yurka said as he handed a black headband to his former student. Naruto kept calm as he could feel his excitement rise, but his smile grew as he accepted the headband and tied it to his forehead. Shaking the two teachers' hand, he thanked Irika while he and Mizuki gave each other very fake smiles and exited the room to enter the room with the rest of the ones who had passed. All noise stopped in the graduates' room when Naruto walked in. They all saw him stare back at them before shrugging his shoulders and walked to a seat next to Hinata. As soon as he sat down, conversation started again. Can you believe it? The dope passed. Do you really believe that? I bet he just took a headband because his could not earn one. But Irika and Mizuki-sensei are in there. They would not let him just take one, would they? I think that he failed and they gave him a headband out of pity. Yeah, you're probably right. So who do you think is going to win the bet? Is there really any doubt who will win? Yeah, there is no way Sasuke-kun could lose. I don't know. Naruto did give him trouble during the spar. Sasuke-kun will not like you for doubting him. What? I believe in Sasuke-kun. I'm just saying that maybe Naruto passed because he really passed and not out of pity. There was silence as everyone thought about what the girl said. Naruto, though, was thinking that maybe not everyone in the class was a jerk, until almost everyone started laughing. Jerks. Oh well, let's see if they can still say that when I beat Sasuke. Hey Hinata-chan. Why yes. I was wondering if you would like to go to the compound with me after class. Hinata's head perked up as she nodded in excitement, but then she frowned. Naruto-kikun, I have to talk to Tsusama, so I won't be able to go with you, she said with sadness. Naruto frowned at not being able to go to his compound with Hinata, so instead he gave her the address so she come by later. A few more students came in the classroom sporting headband while Naruto talked about what they wanted to do in their ninja career, while Naruto talked and Hinata listened. He wanted to save a pretty girl when she was in danger, save a country, defeat and or befriend powerful people, rescue a princess, protect his friends from harms, and through his action help make the world a better place. Well, he highly doubted that he would actually get to do all those things, but they were entertaining and helped pass the time. The room went silent when Irika came through the door and with a clipboard in hand. He could feel anticipation in the air as all the former students seemed to lean forwards in their chair, eager for the results. While the new genin wanted to know who won the bet, while Irika thought they all thought that they had a chance to place in the top 3 for one of the exam events. All right, I will begin this by once again congratulate you all for passing the genin exam. As of now, you are all no longer my students. You are now genin ninja of Konoha and my comrades, he said, bowing. I look forward to working alongside you. All of the genin in the room some form of excitement on his or her face at the sign of respect that their teacher was giving them. Even Sasuke had on a smirk that seemed a lot more pleasant than normal. Now I will tell you the results of the exams you took along with the Rookie of the Year and the class dead last. Cough cough Naruto cough. A civilian boy said that got a few snickers, through everyone else seemed to ignore. First off the written exam, he started. Third place Ino Yamanaka, second place Sakura Haruno, first place Sasuke Uchiha. All of the fangirls cheered when they heard their Sas got first in something, while the other did not pay any attention to it. They had expected the results to the written part would be as such, and Naruto knew for a fact that his would not place in this. But he passed, and that was all he cared about as far as the written exam was concerned. Once the noise died down, Yurka continued with the exam placements. Now accuracy. Third place Hinata Hyuga, second place Naruto Uzumaki, first place Sasuke Uchiha. Irika-sensei, why did Naruto get second place? We all know he just got lucky, one of the guys said and got murmurs of agreement. Because, luck or not, Naruto did the second best in the class, so he got second place. Now if we don't have any more complaints about how someone performed better than you, I would like to continue. Not getting a response, Irika continued. Taijutsu. Third place, Kiba Inuzuka. Alright, me and Akamaru are the greatest. Then why did you get third? Jerks. Second place, Hinata Hyuga. Good job, Hinata-chan, he whispered. Thank you, Naruto-kun. She stuttered back with a blush on her face. First place, Sasuke Uchiha. Yes, Sasuke-kun is the best. No, Sasuke-kun is the greatest. I just said that, you pig. No, you didn't. You said he is the best. I said he is the greatest. Being the greatest is better than being the best. They are the same. Oh yeah. Yeah. Will you both shut up? I want to find out who won. Kiba yelled, getting the class to go silent. Thank you, Kiba. Now finally we have ninjutsu, he said, and the whole class drew in a loud breath. Not knowing what was going on, but understanding that everyone was anticipating the results of this exam, he decided to make it dramatic. In third place, he gave a drawn-out pause, Sakura Haruno. The class let out the breath they had been holding in. In second place, the class sucked in another breath. Sasuke Uchiha. Almost everyone had a look of disbelief on their face. Sasuke Uchiha, the guaranteed rookie of the year, just got second in something. If the class's anxiety about who got first, then the loyal members of the Uchiha fan club would yell in displeasure. And finally, the one who got first place for the ninjutsu portion of the exam is. This is it, were the thoughts of Naruto and Sasuke. If Naruto got first, then Sasuke could kiss his life goodbye. If his fangirls learned of the CRA, then he gave a shudder. He did not even want to think about that. If he got first place, then he would show the village that he was to be taken seriously. Also that the new Naruto had taken the place of the old, and it was up to the village to notice or not. The silence was tense as everyone waited for Irika to give out the name that could decide the fate to the two boys. Naruto Uzumaki. A pin dropped, and the noise could be classified as deafening as everyone tried to work out how the Naruto Uzumaki could outplace the Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto wanted to shout out and rub it in the prick's face how he was not as good as he and everyone else thought he was. But he remembered his promise to Hinata and settled for leaning in his seat with his feet on his desk and a smirk on his face like he had seen Sasuke do so many times over the years. Now that he thought about it, he had been smirking so much that day that his mouth was starting to hurt. Oh, well, he could afford one day to feel arrogant. Irika laughed silently at the broken looks on the faces of his former students. I guess that Sasuke losing to Naruto broke their mind. I wonder if I should be concerned? Nah, I'm not their teacher anymore, so they are no longer my concern. Well, since they don't seem to be doing anything, I better give them the rest of the information before their minds rebut. Irika thought. Now that that is out of the way, he said with a cheery smile on his face. This year's Rookie of the Year is Sasuke Uchiha, and the dead last is Naruto Uzumaki. As he expected, no reaction whatsoever. Congratulations once again on passing, and I hope you all go far in your career as Ninja of Konoha. Now I will see you all again in 2 days for your team placements. With his speaking over, Irika grabbed his things at a pace faster than normal and left the room. Seeing as he had no reason farther to stay, Naruto took Hinata's hand, much to her surprise, embarrassment, and pleasure, and they proceeded to leave the room. But just to finish his day of arrogance, he gave Sasuke a look of superiority before he exited, leaving Sasuke to grit his teeth and rage silently. He had to admit it that the feeling he got that day when his was being an arrogant jerk to Sasuke had felt really good, and he could see why Sasuke acted like he did all the time now. Not that he was going to behave like he did for the rest of his life, but one day was not so bad. Realizing that the object of his anger was no longer in the room and that his teacher had already dismissed them, Sasuke left, slamming the door on his way out. The noise of the door woke everyone up from their stupor as their mind finally processed the shocking information. YHO! Kiba suddenly yelled, causing everyone to look at him. All right, the underdog win again, right, Akamaru? He said, getting a bark in response. "What are you yelling for?" shouted Sakura. Giving her a fanged grin, Kiba spoke. "I just won my bet by rooting for the underdog." "What, you bet on Naruto Baka?" "Well, yeah, but I did not think he was going to win." He then got a sheepish look on his face. "The only reason I bet on him was because his was the underdog. Though the look on Sasuke's face when he lose was priceless." "Sasuke Kun." Sakura gasped. He must be devastated that the loser cheated and stopped him from taking his place as the best in everything. "I must go help him," she said, getting up from her seat. "Not so fast, Billboard Brow. Where do you think you're going?" came Ino's voice. Stopping her exit of the classroom, Sakura turned to look at her rival. "Where do you think I'm going?" "I'm going to go comfort Sasuke-kun." "Nah, you lost the bet, remember. That means you cannot talk to Sasuke-kun or any other boys for a whole week." She joyfully reminded Sakura, much to her dismay. But. "No buts, Billboard. That was the agreement, and you lost." You could hear the joy in her voice. After so long now, it was her time to get ahead of her rival for Sasuke-kun's love. "Sasuke-kun, wait. You can cry on my shoulder if you need to." Ino shouted as she ran out the room in search for Sasuke, leaving behind a depressed Sakura. "I will see you later, Hinata-chan," Naruto called as the two went in opposite direction. Hinata had to go report her exam results to her father, while Naruto was headed to Ichiraka's for some victory ramen. I wonder if ramen is in that health book back in the compound? I hope so. A world where I am not allowed to have ramen is not a world I want live in, he thought as the ramen stand came into view. His thoughts were interrupted when he felt a presence appear behind him, but he kept on walking forwards. "Naruto, Uzumaki-san," came a voice form behind him. Turning around, he saw an Umbu in some bird mask staring at him. "Hi. Hokage-sama would like to speak with you at once. If you would follow me," he said as he started to walk to the Hokage Tower. Naruto stood where he was as he thought about his options. On one hand, he could go to his lying former Gigi of a Hokage and see what he wanted with him. Or he could ignore the Umbu and get some ramen. That was not a hard choice if he had it his way. "Come, Uzumaki-san," spoke the Umbu with irritation in his voice. But it seemed that he would not have his way now. Sighing, he started to follow the Umbu away from his precious ramen and towards the Hokage Tower, wondering what he wanted with him. Previously, Naruto stood where he was as he thought about his options. On one hand, he could go to his lying former Gigi of a Hokage and see what he wanted with him. Or he could ignore the Umbu and get some ramen. That was not a hard choice if he had it his way. "Come, Uzumaki-san," spoke the Umbu with irritation in his voice. But it seemed that he would not have his way now. Sighing, he started to follow the Umbu away from his precious ramen and towards the Hokage Tower, wondering what he wanted with him. "Hey Gigi, why did you have that masked man come get me?" "I was just on my way to get some victory ramen," Naruto said as he walked into the Hokage's office. Hiruzen smiled as he looked at the pouting face of his surrogate grandson. He had been a little concerned when Irika handed him the exam results and said that Naruto did not act like Naruto that much, but he was relieved that his concerns held no ground. Naruto, however, was trying his hardest to keep up his mask in front of his important people. That is right, important people, not precious people. After what he found out 2 nights ago, plus the truth of Kurama, the god of shinobi no longer deserved to be on his precious people list. At the time he found out about Kurama, he had been confused and heard about why his beloved Gigi would kept that secret from him. Now, since he is older, he could understand his reason and he forgave him. Telling a 4-year, or anyone for that matter, that she had a demon of mass destruction, whom had killed thousands along with their hero at the time, inside their body could cause major trust and or mental issues for said person. The Hokage must have figured that if he had found out that he was hosting the QB within his body, then his mind would break, and he would lose trust in him, which was nearly the case. He must have also thought that if his mind was damaged, then the QB could take control and cause a massacre. To Naruto, it was a pretty sound reason not to tell him, and for that Hiruzen had been forgiven, though he wondered when / if he was going to be told. No, the reason was the fact that he had lied to him again and again and again. When he was younger, before he met Kurama, and even a few times after he had met her, he had asked his Gigi why it was that the villagers mistreated and hated him. But every time he had asked, he had claimed to not know the reason, but he, Naruto, should forgive them for it. It had hurt to know that his apparent Gigi lied to him, but he had let it go. The truth about his parents, on the other hand, was not something he could just let go. As an orphan, one of the things he wanted to know the most was the identity of his parents and to know if they loved him. He remembered hearing all of the things the villagers would say when he had asked that question out loud, and it made his blood boil now that he knew the truth. His parents had loved him, but when they found out that he was a monster, they couldn't get rid of him fast enough. That was the son of some low life and a slut. That his mother was raped by a demon, and after his birth, the demon came back, killed his mother, and placed him in Konoha. That he was the son of a respectable couple, but when he was born they were so disgusted with him that they abandoned him. Now happily living somewhere else with lots of normal children. And many others. When he finally learned the truth, he was so relieved, because even though he did not want to believe any of them, he did not know the truth, so any of the hurtful things were possible. What he did not understand, though, is why he was lied to. The only reason he had come up with was that if the identity of his Y chromosome donor was made public, then IWA would be out for his blood. But even if that was the case, why not tell him the identity of his mother? From what he could tell, public knowledge says that the fourth never had a child or a wife, so where was the harm in revealing Kushina to him? He did not know, and to be honest, he did not really care. His absolute trust in his former Gigi, now Hokage, was permanently severed. But that being said, even though his was no longer precious to him, Hiruzen Sarutobi was still important to him. All the memories of the times he was nice to him, although severely stained now that he knew the real reasons for it, were still pleasant. Plus, have the third Hokage, the god of shinobi himself, as his grandfather, could have its advantages. Hurry up, Gigi, the ramen is waiting, Naruto said, still pouting. All right, Hiruzen said, turning very serious. I want to talk to you about some very important news I found out. Naruto gained a confused look at the statement, but on the inside was a different story. Shit. Did he find out I looked in the book? What is it? Hiruzen stared at Naruto as if studying his before answering. Irika has come to me with the exam results. Congratulations, by the way, and has informed me that you used the Shadow Clone Jutsu in the ninjutsu portion of the exam. Is that true? Naruto gave an internal sigh of relief at not being found out, but he gained real confusion at the conversation. Not knowing what else to do, he gave a nod. How did you learn it? Hiruzen demanded, making Naruto nervous. Is it something bad? The Hokage gave a tired sigh. Naruto-kun, the Shadow Clone Jutsu is an A-rank jutsu that is in the Forbidden Scroll. The reason it is in there in the first place is because it takes up so much chakra. In order to even look at the scroll, one would need my permission to learn it. He returned his eyes to Naruto. So, I will ask again, how did you learn that jutsu? Naruto almost let out a cry of joy at the fact that he knew an A-rank jutsu, and that his secret was safe. But the severity of the situation made him focus on trying to find an appropriate answer. He could not say that he found the jutsu in a book, because that would lead to question he did not want to answer. Like how a jutsu like that could be in a book if it was forbidden. How did he find the book? Or where is the book located? So since he could not tell the truth, he would have to lie. He felt a little bad at lying to his Hokage, since it in a way was a crime. But he had been lied to by said Hokage his whole life, so it only seemed fair to him. Besides, it is not like not telling about his secret life would put the village or anyone else in danger, so it will be fine. From what he had gotten so far was that the jutsu was dangerous because it took so much chakra, but he already know that. Thank you, Uzumaki Ninjutsu book. Also, he got that in order to learn the jutsu the normal way, you needed the Hokage's permission. So you needed to have enough chakra in order to use the jutsu without repercussions, and the Hokage needed to trust you enough to look in the Forbidden Scroll. With that information in mind, Naruto formed a story that he hoped was believable. Well, I guess I was taught, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head in a nervous fashion. You guess? Hiruzen questioned suspiciously. Hi. Naruto said nervously. It was very easy to act a certain way if you actually felt that way. Explain. Well, about a week ago I was going through the forest to find a new hiding place for my prank supplies when I found one of those masked guys in the middle of a clearing. He paused, taking a deep, calming breath before continuing. He looked like he was preoccupied trying to do something, because I don't think he noticed me. I was a little curious about what he was doing, so I decided to watch him. When I was watching, I heard him talk to himself every time he seemed to mess up. Then he finally made a clone. Naruto paused in his story to see if Hiruzen was buying it, but he gave him nothing as he motioned Naruto to continue. While after he made his first clone, he kept on practicing, and each time he repeated his self-instructions. I managed to memorize them and started to practice myself. Hiruzen was silent for a while, going over the story he had just heard a few times in his head. Not that he considered the boy in front of him a liar or anything, but he was the Hokage, and it was his job to make sure his village and its secrets were safe. After a bit of thought, the man concluded that the story was more than likely true. He had a new Umbu member who was having trouble with the shadow clone jutsu. Plus, it was very possible that young Naruto happened to find him practicing. The silence was almost unbearable for Naruto as his former grandfather went over his story. It was good, but would it be enough to fool the Hokage? Am I in trouble, Gigi? Naruto said in a sad voice, trying to play his good little grandchild card. Thinking about it a moment longer, Hiruzen gave a sigh. It was not like Naruto did anything wrong by learning the jutsu, and it seemed that he did not have any negative affects from it either, though he still wondered one thing. Sighing a bit, he said, "No, Naruto-kun, you are not in any trouble, but why did you learn shadow clones instead of the normal clones?" Naruto gave a sigh of relief and gave himself a mental pat on the back for tricking the god of shinobi. No, tricking sounded too wicked a word. How about telling a convincing lie? Yeah, that would work. I tried, but I can't seem to make a clone. Hinata-chan kept on saying that I used too much chakra for it to work, but no matter how hard I tried, I kept using too much. So when I saw the masked man doing a different type of clone, I decided to try it. Last night was the only time I was able to do it right besides this morning, though. He explained. Very well then. I would have preferred you learn the clone jutsu, but the shadow clone will do. Hiruzen said. Naruto smiled this. He had learned an A-rank jutsu, beat the duck but in ninjutsu, and told a convincing enough lie to the Hokage twice. Yes, sir, he was on fire today. But since it is a jutsu in the Forbidden Scroll, you must not teach it to anyone. Understand? Hi, Gigi. Naruto said, causing the old Hokage to smile. Good, he said, then he reached under his desk. Now that the serious stuff is out of the way, I would like to congratulate you properly for passing the Genin exam and placing first for ninjutsu. He said, bring out something covered in a long cloth from under his desk and handing it to Naruto. Taking the gift and removing the cloth, Naruto gasped at what he held. In his hands was a sword roughly the same length and his mother's, though it was lighter. The main difference, though, was that both the sheath and handle were nearly as white as Hinata's claws, and the sword's guard was a golden 8-point star. A/N, like Toshiro Hitsugai's Zanpakuto in Bankai from Bleach. Slowly drawing the sword halfway from its sheath, he saw the blade itself was a shiny silver color. In all, it was a very pretty weapon, not nearly as beautiful as his black blade in his compound, but it was much better than the current one on his back. If he called his mother's Black Beauty a 10 and the one on his back a 1, then the one in his hands was an impressive 7.9. Jig. Hokage-sama, I don't know what to say. Naruto said. Hiruzen gave a chuckle at what he heard. After so many years of trying to get the blonde to be respectful, he now does so when he is handed a sword. You don't have to say anything, my boy. I heard you were seen with a sword this morning and thought, since you were taking an interest in Kenjutsu, that I would give you it as a gift if you passed, he said with a smile. Great, now Naruto was starting to feel bad for lying before. Oh well, I'll get over it in a bit as long as nothing else happens, shit. I also realized that I was behind on a few of your birthday presents, so I hope this makes up for it. Damn you, Murphy, and fuck your stupid laws, Naruto thought. Yep, it was going to take longer than a bit to get over the guilt now. This more than make up for it, Jig, Hokage-sama, Naruto said, returning his attention to the man in front of him. Thank you. No thanks are needed, my boy, he said, clapping his hands together before continuing. Now, since I doubt you know how to properly use a blade, I have arranged a Kenjutsu expert to teach you. She will be expecting you in training ground 42 at 7 tonight. A/N. Bet no one can guess who it is, understood? He asked. Naruto could only nod dumbly. Not only did he get a new sword, but he also got an expert to teach him. Even though he felt a little guilty now, having the god of shinobi think of you as a grandchild had its advantages. Good. Since that is all I needed you for, you are dismissed to enjoy your victory ramen, he said and started to work on the large stack of papers that had appeared on the desk. As he walked out the office, Naruto heard his Hokage beg Kami for the answer to paperwork, and it made him question the man's IQ since they had had an entire conversation about it. After a wonderfully large lunch of Victor Ramen, which the Ichirakus said was half off as a graduation present, Naruto made his way to his clan compound, being careful not to be followed. His clan compound. He still could not believe he could say that. Once he was inside, he quickly found his mother's sword and laid it and his new one on the table in the living room. He compared the two blades in front of him, giving each experimental swings, and tried to move them like he had seen other people do. He quickly found that his Black Beauty was the blade he preferred, and it was not just because he was biased, though it did make his choice easier. Even though he was no sword expert, he was confident that his black blade was better for him than the white one. His mother's sword felt like it was more of a balanced blade like his future taijutsu style, while the white one was lighter, leading him to think that it was more for offense than defense. But hey, what did he know? Since he figured out his preferred sword, he now had to deal with the other one. He had thought of just not using it and put it in the room with all the other swords, but that did not seem right to him. The Hokage had given it to him, and it seemed like he put a bit of effort in getting it to him, though he wondered where he got the sword from since his public sword interest was less than 8 hours old. He even gave him a private instructor, plus this was by far the best present his former Gigi had given him. It was certainly better than the coupons to restaurant that refused him or that rundown apartment. Shit, he was still going to have to live there, wouldn't he? Yeah, he would if he wanted to keep the knowledge of his heritage a secret. Sighing, Naruto came to a decision. He would learn 2 different kenjutsu styles. His black sword style would be based on the Uzumaki style. The white one, however, he would be using to learn whatever his instructor taught him and be the one that saw the public's eye. Man, he had a lot of work ahead of him. He was so thankful for shadow clones. Without them, he was not even sure his goal would be even possible. Standing up, he formed a T-hand seal. Shadow clone jutsu, he said, and 8 puffs of smoke later stood 8 Naruto clones. Damn, I wanted to make 6. Oh well, I can practice later, he thought. After dividing the clones up, 3 to practice basic kenjutsu things, 2 to work on his new taijutsu, and the rest were to work on fuinjutsu, Naruto went up to his bedroom to check up on a few things he skimmed over the night before. Spotting a rather large pile of the handwritten letters from his mother, he shuffled through them until he found the ones he wanted. He then got comfortable on the bed before he started to read them. The letters he was reading were about the compound that his mother called home before she moved in with the blonde idiot. On that line of thought, he removed the fake image on his person, revealing his red hair and whiskerless face. He smiled since he was no longer a blonde idiot. With that done, he then focused on the letters and was very impressed. Since the Uzumaki were seal masters, he figured that the compound had some kind of seal on it, like the blood on the gate, but the number of seals and their purpose got him thinking. The Uzumaki clan compound was the safest and most private place in the entire village. All around the compound's perimeter were seals that prevented any unauthorized person from entering. If they tried to enter anyway, then they would be shocked with enough electricity to be rendered unconscious. The same would also happen if anyone but an Uzumaki applied blood to the blood seal on the gate. But there was a way around it. If one was to find a way to negate the electrical seal, then they would have nothing to worry about, except for the 25 backup trap seals that would activate if the first one was disabled, and the 40 or so backup trap seal after the first 25. Anyway, the second way to get in if one was not an Uzumaki was a seal that was basically an Uzumaki friendship seal. Once an Uzumaki, like Naruto, applies it to a person they deem trustworthy, like Hinata, said person could come and go from the compound as they please. The seal could also be removed if the Uzumaki wished. Though friendly or not, any attempted entry will notify everyone inside. Yet no one was breaking in anytime soon. The level of protection that went in the simple compound that only one person lived and make him wonder how protected was the entire country. I'm going to have to learn more about my clan. Everything I know about them is from mother's letters. I'm sure she must have left some things out. What was that building called again? The one that has all of the book on everything? I think it starts with AL. I'll find out later. He thought as he went over the rest of the information. The compound had an advanced silencing seal on the entire compound that was so good, his mom said, nothing short of a boss summons yell could get through, whatever that was. Also, there was apparently a seal that prevented anyone from the outside from seeing in. This made Naruto smile. Basically, the letters said that he could train as long and as loud as he wanted without being found out. The rest told about little things like the indoor traps he needed to avoid and whatnot that did not seem like big deal, though he placed them in a neat pile in case he needed them in the future. Once the letters were put away, he turned to the last letter on his bed and sighed. Out of all the others, this one letter was one of the most emotionally conflicting he has found. Everything else was so simple. His mother, he loved. The blonde idiot, he hated. The compound, he loved. His apartment, he hated. The Ichirakus, he loved. Jiraiya, he hated for being his failed godfather. Thank you, blonde idiot, for your amazing judgment. Hinata, he trusted with his entire being. The Hokage, not so much. But one name he could not place with an emotion easily. Tsunade. Looking at the letter and reading it over again did not help his confusion. This letter, like a few others about her, told about how excited my mother was for him, Naruto, to meet her, Tsunade. How her, Kushina, choice of a godparent was so much better than Minato Baka's. And the priceless look that was going to appear on her, Tsunade, face when she was told she was Naruto's godmother. When she was told, that meant that his mother never told Tsunade about the role she was supposed to play in Naruto's life. But even if she was never told, where was she? By the level of excitement that he got from Kushina's writing, he figured that his would-be godmother would be told as soon as possible. He also knew, even though she would be shocked, she would gladly take the position and do a better job than Minato's choice, though that wouldn't be that hard. Did she just find him and abandon him? Or since she was never informed of her position, she just did not feel responsible for him? Did she even know he exists? Now that he thought about it, he has never seen or heard of anyone by the name Jiraiya or Tsunade in the village before. But he was sure he had heard about it before. Weird. Maybe they are famous and or powerful. I wondered if they are in the big book building. Sighing, he placed the letter with all the others. He did not know the reason the woman was not there for him, but he will believe that she wanted to be but couldn't for some reason. He will put faith in his mother's choice. She has not done him any wrong so far, unlike someone. Knock, knock. The noise of knocking could heard from anywhere in the compound. It was not over loud, but it was loud enough to get the attention of anyone inside. So that's what the letter meant, Naruto thought as he went to see who was at his gate. His gate, it felt good to say. Hinata stood patiently at the gate of her best friendly home with a smile on her face. The reason she was smiling was because she will get to see Naruto's beautiful home again, and she will finally get to practice with the claws she had been dying to use all day. Plus, the events at the Hyuga compound helped. After she had explained in great detail what had happened during the exam, her father had only lightly reprimanded her, saying stuff like she was a failure for not getting the Rookie of the Year spot, or telling her that she shamed the clan because the dead last placed better than her in something, things that she was used to. It still hurt hearing that from her father, though. But that was another reason her to smile, though, because now she could spend time with her Naruto. Her Naruto, the thought made her blush. Hey Hinata-chan, I'm glad you could make it. Were you followed? Naruto asked as he opened the gate for her. The sight of him in his new clothes and red hair did not help her blush at all. Shaking her head no, she walked in through the gate, taking in the tranquil atmosphere of the area. Hey Hinata-chan, are you okay? Your face is all red. Naruto asked as he led her to the house. I am fine in Naruto-kun, she said, forcing her blush back a bit. They walked in a comfortable silence to the training ground, when Hinata felt like one of her fantasies came true. Upon entering the training ground, Hinata was greeted to the sight of 8 other Narutos, 2 of which were sweaty and shirtless. Okami, she thought before fainting, her kind and peaceful nature and her not-so-innocent thoughts colliding, causing her body to shut down. Hinata-chan, Hinata-chan, Naruto said as he turned around to find his friend unconscious with a smile and a blush on her face. Hinata-chan, can you hear me? Wake up. Hinata heard as she woke up. She had had an amazing dream where there had been lots of Narutos. Opening her eyes, she was greeted to multiple Naruto faces hovering above hers. Okami, she thought before passing out again. After passing out a few more times, Hinata finally became stable enough for Naruto to explain how there were multiple forms of him. After Naruto had explained the technique to her and told her that this was the reason he placed highest in ninjutsu, she was a little envious of him. Knowing a technique that could reduce training time would make learning to use her claw would be a great help, but when Naruto listed all the different things he needed to learn and improve on, she agreed that he needed technique more than she did. With her curiosity over the clones put to rest, she moved her attention to the new sword in one of the clones' grip. That led Naruto to explain his meeting with the Hokage and his new gift in the form of the sword. As Hinata listened to his story, she frowned when she heard that he had lied to the third. It saddened her to know that her friend no longer trusted the one he once saw as a grandfather. It also did not settle well with her that her friend lied to her leader. She understood his reason, though. If he had told the truth, then it would lead to many complications that would end in Naruto getting hurt. And as much as it conflicted with her morals, she would rather Naruto lie to prevent pain than tell the truth and cause it. Naruto was very grateful that Hinata seemed to understand his reason. It made telling the rest of his story much easier. When he finished telling about his kenjutsu lesson later on that day, he had loudly exclaimed that he would beat Hinata in a weapons spar, even though she had a large head start, just for the heck of it. At first, Hinata was shocked at his outburst and worried that he would start to use his mask all the time again. But the look of his challenging smirk calmed her worries. It actually brought a smile to her face at the thought of challenging Naruto. Even though all she had to do was adapt the use of the claws, the gentle fists movements, and Naruto was starting from scratch, he had the shadow clones, a teacher, and determination to spare. With all of this, it made the idea of competition very real. Hinata felt a feeling in her gut start to form as her motivation to master the claws rose to new heights. So without any further conversation, she went to an unoccupied spot in the yard and begun to practice. Naruto, not to be outdone, also went to work and begun to practice the basic kenjutsu stances with his clone to get ready for his lesson. Naruto made his way through village towards training ground 42 with his white sword across his back, ready to begin his first lesson with a private teacher. Before he had left, he had challenged Hinata to a quick weapon spar. He had been using his black sword and got his ass royally handed to him by the princess of the Hyuga clan, not that he had expected anything less. What he did learn was that he had a lot of work to do, but he already knew that. The spar just reinforced this fact. He had also applied a successful Uzumaki friendship seal to the Hyuga before he left, and it only took him 10 divided by 5 times 10 plus 30 times 2 divided by 7,000 times 0 plus 50 tries to get it right, times 2 if you count the clone helping him. A/N. If you get this right and send me a good review, I might give you an imaginary cookie. As he entered the training ground, he looked at the descending sun and figured that it was around 7. Not seeing anyone, he went to a boulder to wait for his new sensei to appear. He did not have to wait long, though, for as soon as he got comfortable against the stone, his body grabbed a kunai hidden on his person to deflect a projectile flying towards his body. He tensed when a figure appeared in front of him, but he soon relaxed when he felt no malice from the figure and realized that the projectile was a dud. In front of his was a woman who appeared to be in her early 20s. She had long purple hair and some kind of tattoo on her arm. He also saw that she had a sword across her back like he did, and that she was looking him over with an expressionless face and cold, calculative eyes, though they seemed to have an impressed look. "You are Naruto Uzumaki." It was not a question, and the tone of her voice made him stand a little straighter. "Hi. You're late," she stated, much to Naruto's confusion. Seeing his confusion, she explained, "I requested you to come at 7. It is 7 now. If you are early, you're on time. If you are on time, you're late. If you are late, don't show up. Got it?" Hi. The woman walked around him, inspecting him. Your sword. Why did you not use it to defend yourself? Why use a kunai?" she asked/demanded. "I do not yet know how to properly use my sword, ma'am. I am more comfortable with a kunai than a sword at the moment. and I am more likely to injure myself if I had used it he said. He did not know why he was being so respectful, but something about this woman said that her no-nonsense attitude was not to be tested. The woman nodded her head, accepting his answer, before she focused was fully on Naruto. My name is Yugao Yuzuki, the now named Yugao said. Hokage-sama has asked me to teach you how to properly use a sword. He has also stated that I could ignore his request if I wanted, but I decided to accept. She narrowed her eyes at him, causing him to gulp. While we are together, you are to show me respect. You are to do everything I tell you to when I say it without question or complaint. If you violate any of what I just said, or if I find you a waste of time, these lessons will not continue. Do I make myself clear? Hi-sensei. Man, she was scary. Good. She looked over his shoulder at his sword. I see you brought your own sword. Hi-sensei. Take it off. You will not need it, she demanded. Naruto was confused. How can you have a sword lesson without a sword? But he saw Yugao narrow her eyes even more, just daring him to question her order. Hi-sensei, Naruto said as he took off his sword and placed against the stone. He made a mental note that when he followed the order, she seemed to take several calming breaths. A/in. Yugao will mellow out as time goes by, but right now she does not really want to teach anyone. Once he returned to his position, Yugao started to walk away. Looking at him from over her shoulder, she said one word. Come. He followed. He followed her to the entrance to the training and looked at her expectantly when she stopped. You see the training ground boundaries? She said. Hi, sensei. Run, she said. Sensei, how far? He asked. Did I say how far? She asked, narrowing her eyes. No, sensei. Run, she simply said. Hi, sensei, he said as took off. Stupid slave driving sensei, Naruto thought as his limped to his apartment. He figured that it was around 9, but he wouldn't be surprised if it was later. After Yugao had told him to run, she had not told him to stop until he literally passed out from fatigue. He had ran around the training ground 10 times. 1 is equal to 1.5 miles, for the better part of the first hour at full speed. He had never been so thankful for that annual demon fox hunts. Anyway, after he got a rude awakening of ice water, his sensei forced him to do push-ups and sit-ups until he could not do them anymore. Then he was to do the different stances until he had them acceptable. He knew they were acceptable when Yugao stops giving him love taps with her shurnai, which was one of the reasons he was limping. But not once did he complain. The most defiance he showed was a questioning look, and that was it. His performance must have been decent because he was to come back, same place, same time before being dismissed. Why, Cammy, why? Why did you make all those with purple hair sadists? He thought before a movement in the corner of his eyes caught his attention. Turning his head, he saw a figure dart across the street into an alley before pausing and repeating the process. Curious, he moved into a dark shadow and turned his hair red to better hide himself. It was not long before the figure ran across his vision and his curiosity spiked. The figure revealed itself to be his bastard of a teacher, Mizuki. Mizuki was in an all-black outfit without his leaf headband on. On his back was a large scroll, and he seemed to be making a mad dash in the direction of the village exit. What are you up to, you bastard? He thought. He wanted to follow him, but his tired and aching body forced him otherwise, so he did the next best thing. Changing his hair color again, he picked up a rock and threw it at an umbu he saw sleeping on a nearby roof. What the? Who the fuck did that? The umbu said, looking around. Oh, it's you, he snarled out, spotting Naruto. Jumping off the room and landing in front of him, he spoke again. You have a lot of never doing that to me, boy, the umbu said. Oh great, another hater, Naruto thought. I saw Mizuki head that way. He points in Mizuki's direction, with a giant scroll. He seemed to be sneaking around towards the village exit. Naruto said. The umbu just looked at him, like he was trying to decide if he was going to see what he was talking about, or just go back to sleep. Naruto just limped away, leaving the umbu to his thinking. He had done his civilian duty by reporting suspicious activity. Looking back behind him, it seems that the umbu decided to follow Mizuki because he was not there anymore. He would have shrugged if he could, but at the moment, he was focusing on trying to get to bed before his legs gave out. Urrgh. Naruto thought as he finally got into bed. Now that he no longer had to move, he could feel all the aches and pain that were going through his body. But after a few minutes of painful shifting, he finally got comfortable enough to think about something other than his pain. He humiliated Sasuke in a spar. He saved mankind the torture of Sakura's learned A-rank jutsu. He got a new sword, and he got a new teacher. So all in all, it was a pretty good day. Thinking about his spar, he wondered what his mother's taijutsu style looked like. Fuck, Naruto said in sudden realization. How could he have been so stupid? Even though the Uzumaki taijutsu style was made to fit each individual, it was still considered the Uzumaki style. Each person has to learn the basics before they can start to be more creative, so each person form would look similar in some shape or form. His mother more likely than not used a version of the Uzumaki taijutsu style. That meant that if someone was watching his spar who had happened to know his mother enough to recognize her way of fighting, his secret would not stay such for long. Groaning at his sudden realization, he winced at what he now had to do. He had to learn Fuinjutsu, Future Ninjutsu, Chakra Control, 2 Kenjutsu, 2 Taijutsu forms, and more. Most people only learn one style of fighting and spend their entire life mastering it. But him, he had to learn 4, 2 from his heritage and 2 for the front that Konoha sees. Groaning to himself, he complains out loud. Kami, when did you make my life so complicated? Never had he been so grateful for picking up a book and learning something from it, Shadow Clones. Well, at least now I have something to keep me busy for a long time, Naruto thought dejectedly before he passed out from exhaustion.